Chapter 76. After eating, Erwin went straight to Snape's office. Enter the password with ease. Bah! After shouting the password, the office door opens. Erwin walked in. As soon as I entered, I smelled a pungent smell. Erwin subconsciously waved his hand in front of him. Get rid of that bad smell. Professor Snape, what are you brewing? Why is it so choking? Snape ignored Erwin. Instead, he focused on the crucible in front of him. In the crucible, a pitch-black mass was bubbling. Erwin shuddered subconsciously. So evil, so scary. Isn't Snape brewing some poison? Looking at Snape, who was focused, Erwin didn't bother him. He walked aside, opened the Half-Blood Prince's diary, and started reading. After about half an hour, Snape's potion is finished. Erwin saw visibly relieved Snape. There was also an expression of relief on his face. Pour the dark liquid from the crucible into the bottle, then handed it to Erwin. Erwin took it curiously. Are you going to put it somewhere, Professor? Snape said. Drink it. Erwin was stunned. Look at the dark potion in the bottle. Drink? Is this thing for drinking? Don't let the person die after drinking it. Is this really for drinking? Snape frowned. Drink it, and you will know its effect. Hurry up, we will have to brew a brain-refreshing potion later. Erwin's face turned dark. It seemed that he had no chance to choose. Erwin shook the bottle gently. Judging from Snape's attitude towards him, Snape probably didn't intend to kill him. The most important thing is, if Snape really wants to kill him, there is no need to use this thing to harm him. Erwin raised his neck and looked at death with a look on his face. Drink the potion directly into your stomach. The moment the medicine enters the mouth, a bitter taste spread through Erwin's taste buds. Erwin couldn't help but frown. Snape said, Drink up. Don't leave any of it behind. Erwin drank the potion from the bottle. Chirp, chirp. To be honest, it tastes really bad. Just when Erwin was curious about the effect of the potion, the next moment, Erwin only felt a burst of power within his body. The next moment, Erwin only felt an inexplicable throbbing in his body being forcibly suppressed. Erwin's expression changed instantly. Erwin was filled with horror. In fact, he has always had a secret in his heart. That is, he may be a pervert. No, that's not quite accurate. It should be said that Erwin's desire for killing is almost pathological. Only old Tom knows this secret. Although Erwin considers himself a good person, he does have a different hobby in taking away the lives of others. He has been hiding this secret in his heart. After coming to Hogwarts, I also deliberately suppressed my desire. It was also because of this that he was so cruel to the Acromantula yesterday. He couldn't hold it back anymore. Erwin always believed that this was because he had been walking in the dark since he was a child, and his body had developed some unknown protection mechanism. After all, in this industry, if you are not ruthless, you will not survive at all. However, now it seems that this is not the case. Snape's potion can suppress his impulse. The most important thing is that Snape knows about his impulse. Erwin looked at Snape in confusion. He didn't know why Snape knew about his situation and could brew a potion to suppress his impulses. He couldn't help but be wary in his eyes, and an acacia wood wand quietly appeared in his hand under his robe. Snape glanced at Erwin's hands under his robes. A flash of loneliness flashed in his eyes, but he quickly hid it. Don't be so nervous. If I want to do something to you, it will depend on your current magic level. You will not be my opponent at all, even with your weapons. I have told you this. As for your desire for killing, it's because of your bloodline. Erwin asked in confusion. Bloodline? Snape nodded. There are some things that I can't tell you now. Otherwise, it will not be a good thing for you. You just need to know that the potion you just drank can suppress the side effects of your blood. You will need it every week in the future. Come and have a drink with me, Erwin said. I don't understand. Professor Snape, since you know my situation, then you should know that I can suppress it on my own. Snape said, the reason why you are able to suppress it is because of your age. If you don't use potions to help, you won't be able to suppress it next year. Erwin frowned. My father. Was this the case back then? Snape shook his head. No, you are different from your father. Your father's bloodline is not pure enough, but you, the bloodline of your father and your mother is merged. You will understand later. Now you know too much will not have any effect on you. Erwin was silent for a moment. Professor, why are you helping me? People like me should be very dangerous. Why are you helping me and leaving me in Hogwarts? Snape said, Dumbledore knows about your situation. You don't really think that no one knows about your trip to the Forbidden Forest. Erwin, you are arrogant at your core. You used Muggles' weapons, but the traces are not eliminated. because you are confident that even if someone knows, they will not find it on you. But you have ignored a problem. People who are capable of using Muggle weapons can avoid everyone and enter the Forbidden Forest. You are the only one. You look very cautious. In fact, you are used to controlling everything, so you don't care about many things. Put away your arrogance. Otherwise, you will pay a painful lesson for this. Erwin was silent. Arrogant? Indeed there is. Especially after Erwin gets on top, Erwin will feel as if all living beings should crawl at his feet. Nothing would cause Erwin to waver in the slightest. He will subconsciously ignore some details that he usually attaches great importance to. Just like the berserker in the game. The combat power explodes, but the mind is empty. Erwin bowed slightly. I remember, Professor. Snape nodded, hesitated for a moment and said, You can trust me. I will never harm you. But you can't trust Dumbledore, because he has his own ideals and pursuits, and he will do anything to achieve his ideals. Erwin looked at Snape in surprise. He was not surprised by Snape's words, but he was surprised that Snape would tell him these words. Old B certainly can't be trusted. Chapter 77. In Erwin's opinion, Old B and Grindelwald are the same people. How about they become a couple? The only difference between them is how they handle things. Grindelwald pursues high pressure, while Dumbledore pursues gentleness. Both are idealists. But in the end, Dumbledore's ideas were more acceptable, and Dumbledore defeated Grindelwald. So Dumbledore became the White Wizard, and Grindelwald became the Dark Wizard. But do you think Grindelwald really did anything wrong? He's right. Isn't he also trying to give all wizards a brighter future? So in this world, the winner is king after all. Erwin had already seen this clearly. What surprised him was that Snape would actually say such things to him. This made Erwin once again start to think about his own weight in Snape's heart. It seems that his parents, who went to meet the god of death early, have a deep bond with Snape. Sauce gives? Which road to ask for? Erwin shook his head quickly. It's a conspiracy. It's a conspiracy. Snape said, Okay, come and make the potion. I hope you have memorized the method of brewing the brain-refreshing potion. Erwin nodded. I will try my best to be a good professor. Erwin was gearing up and finally started private lessons from the potion master. Erwin just sat there and started operating. Snape was watching Erwin's movements closely. Both of them were very cautious. The brain-refreshing potion is not too difficult, but it is a potion that tests one's potion skills. Because the Xingnao potion contains a particularly strict potion, the proportion of herbs, and the heat. All have strict requirements. You can say that the brain-refreshing potion is very basic, but you can never say that the brain-refreshing potion is very difficult. It's so contradictory. Brain-refreshing potions are generally used as a test item during the 5th year exams at Hogwarts. An ordinary little wizard can get very high scores if he can brew a brain-refreshing potion. Erwin was operating while Snape was guiding him. Snape was also very satisfied with Erwin's performance. Although the action is very green, very slow, but I couldn't find any faults in every step. Snape was very happy and felt that there was someone to succeed him. And under Snape's guidance, Erwin's hand gradually became faster. Soon, Erwin successfully brewed a brain-refreshing potion. Snape nodded. It's okay. Make 2 more batches to familiarize yourself with what I just taught you. Erwin nodded. For potion masters, their most precious treasures are the little tricks they use when brewing potions. For example, Erwin would never have thought on his own that adding mugwort when purifying the awakening herb solution would make it more pure. This is a little trick that every potions master has. It's something you can never learn in a classroom. Time passes bit by bit. In a blink of an eye, it was past 12 o'clock in the evening. Erwin dragged his exhausted body out of Snape's office. Brewing potions is really a time-consuming task. You need to keep looking at the bubbles in the crucible to control the heat. A little more won't do, and a little less won't do. No wonder every potions master is lonely. Damn it. Staring at a pot every day would make a normal person withdrawn. No wonder they are. And after brewing the magic potion, Erwin would be really tired. Don't want to say a word. After returning to the Slytherin common room, in front of the fireplace, there were still many little wizards gathering together and chatting. See Erwin coming back. He stood up quickly. Prefect, you are back. Erwin nodded and forced a smile. Why aren't you sleeping yet? Tomorrow is the weekend. There is a Quidditch match, and we are talking about tomorrow's game. Erwin nodded. Which 2 colleges will it be tomorrow? Draco quickly said. It's us Slytherin and Gryffindor. We Slytherin will definitely win. That boy Potter used some means to become Gryffindor's seeker. But tomorrow, he will definitely be beaten to pieces. Erwin rolled his eyes. Sure enough, When it came to Harry Potter, Draco was more excited than ever before. After Draco finished speaking, he asked with expectation, "Prefect, will you go to the game tomorrow?" Erwin hesitated. "I should go." All the little wizards suddenly became excited. Although Erwin is not interested in Quidditch. But after all, it was the first Quidditch show of this school year at Hogwarts. And it was Gryffindor and Slytherin, the two old enemies, who made the opening show. It wouldn't be appropriate for Erwin not to be there. Erwin yawned. "Okay, go to bed early. It's getting late. Since you are going to watch the game, you should have a good rest. Otherwise, if you can't get up tomorrow, you will miss the game." All the little wizards nodded quickly. Erwin waved and turned to go upstairs to his room. After changing the sheets, Erwin fell asleep quickly. In a daze, Erwin came to the place where he dreamed last time. Erwin was shocked. Can this G dream continue? Erwin looked at the dark passage ahead, thought for a moment. As we all know, you will not die in your dreams. Probably not. Erwin was really curious. What is this dream about? I thought about it for a while. Erwin clapped his hands. Done. If a person dies, a bird will look up to the sky, and he will not die for tens of thousands of years. Can a Thunder King be frightened by his dream? What a system. Erwin walked directly towards the depths of the passage. Still a familiar scene. As Erwin goes deeper, on the walls on both sides of the passage, torches were automatically lit. It's quite magical. Erwin ignored these things and continued to go deeper inside. Soon I came to the corner that I discovered last time. Erwin peeked out his head and took a look. Hey, it's very quiet. There seems to be no one. Erwin listened for a while. I found that there was really no one there. This time, Erwin became much bolder. Out of the darkness, he walked towards the cage over there. As Erwin approaches the cage, the situation in the cage also reflected in Erwin's eyes. I saw that there was a person imprisoned in each of these cages. It's just that these people are huddled in the corner at this time. He looked like a savage, dirty. Erwin came to a cage. A voice came from inside. What? Did you come up with another way to deal with me today? Don't waste time. What's not yours is not yours after all. No matter how much you do, it's useless. It's just a dream. Erwin scratched his head. Who are you? Chapter 78. Erwin finished speaking. There was a sudden silence in the cage. Subsequently, Erwin only heard the sound of chains. The sound of chains came from many places. Erwin was startled. Turn around and look. It was found that every person in the cage was moving. Come closer to the cage fence. A child? It's not them. It doesn't smell like that. It seems to be from the same origin. Is it him? He should be the only one. He should be the only one in the magic world now. Is it Cavendi? Erwin was stunned for a moment. You know me? The man in the cage in front of Erwin instantly became excited. He trotted to the cage door. Are you Cavendi? Erwin nodded. Yeah. Do you recognize me? What's your name? Let me think about it. Erwin? Is it Erwin? Erwin was even more confused. It's me. Why do you know me? Who are you and what is this place? The man in the cage lifted his messy hair. He glanced at Erwin. It turns out you are in a roaming state. You are dreaming. No wonder you are here. Erwin was full of doubts. Why does it feel like a person in prison is so mysterious? Is this world really Harry Potter? Isn't he wearing the wrong clothes? I remember reading a novel before, Harry Potter, a colorful novel, and the setting in it was mysterious. There's also the demon world and stuff like that. I won't be able to cross over into this world. Erwin said, Can you please stop talking about those useless things? Tell me, where is this place? Who are you and why do you know me? I don't know where this is. We were all captured here. I only know that this is somewhere in Germany. I had a dream, and it was really for him to come from abroad. Is it so outrageous? Erwin asked. Then who are you? We are the protectors. We are the protectors of the inheritors. Erwin curled his lips. Protector? Do you have any misconceptions about protectors? Are you like this, still protecting the road? The national highway? The man in the cage was silent. If we face the enemy head-on, we will not be caught. We are your protectors, the protectors of Cavendi. Erwin was shocked. Cavendi's guardian? The truth is, with these competition tools to protect the Tau, no wonder his parents died. At this level, it is not unjust for my parents to die. Erwin said. What is an heir? The man in the cage was silent for a moment. About to speak, Erwin's body began to flicker. The man said, Your time is running out. You can't stay here anymore. If you want to know the truth, you must become stronger. Come and find us. Erwin was anxious. Are you drafting it? You have the time to say these words. You have told me the truth. But Erwin had just finished speaking. It felt like my consciousness was trapped in a vortex. The next second, Erwin opened his eyes from the bed. His face was ashen. Shabiba, that person is Shabiba. What are you talking nonsense about, and why are you silent? If you have the time, you should tell the truth quickly. What the hell is this thing written by an author that has to have a big main plot? Are you giving up your face just to make money? Erwin punched the bed twice. Very angry. And at this time, in that dungeon, old Holden, the young master is right. You should talk about business. What are you talking about? Old Holden was the one who just talked to Erwin. Said, blame me. I'm just used to it. Really, I will never understand why the old master asked you to become the guardian of Cavendi. You should obviously be the guardian of the Houston family. They like ink as much as you do. Old Holden stopped talking. Autistic. At this moment, in the passage, there was a rush of footsteps. Then two men in black robes appeared here. One of them looked around. Do you feel it? Inheritor. He is here again. We can't delay. We must kill him. At his current age, his soul can roam in the form of dreams. He will be the master's biggest threat. Old Holden said coldly, despicable things. Are you really not afraid that the old master will come back to liquidate you? The man in black robe sneered. Let's wait until he comes back. Our master is the only future. Soon, you will see your little master being imprisoned next to you. We will take away things that do not belong to him. After saying that, the man in black robe turned and left. Old Holden watched the two people leaving. Sighed. Old Holden, do you think something will happen to the little master? Old Holden shook his head. I don't know. However, the young master's father chose to take root in Renton, presumably because of the existence of Hogwarts. Dumbledore is very powerful. With him here, the young master must have nothing will happen. Calculate the time. The little master should also be attending Hogwarts now. As long as the little master is at Hogwarts, they can't do anything to the little master. Several people in the cell returned to their seats in the corner and sat down. In the dungeon, silence fell once again. Other side. Erwin ruffled his slightly messy hair. The more I think about it, the angrier I get. This kind of idiot is still a protector. Even those who were sent to the expressway for road maintenance thought he was too old and too slow to protect the road. What idiot would come up with the idea of letting such a guy become a protector? The most important thing is, who is he protecting? At this time, somewhere unknown, a figure couldn't help but sneeze. Is someone talking about me again? And it should be someone who is related to me by blood. Which one is it? Forget it. Never mind. You be asterisk 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 D. Get back here. If you peek at me and sneeze again, I will make a big one with my backhand. Wei Tian Long. Bah, that's not right. I took a trip to Daxia and took me astray. With my backhand, I will come to the world with a thunderbolt and kill your B asterisk 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 D. As this person's words fell, around him, a group of doggy black mist swayed, then quietly shrank back. The man sighed. The power is getting stronger and stronger. Don't these new generation wizards know how to control themselves? No matter how hard this can't restrict them. Erwin was about to take a shower. At this time, there was a knock on his door. Erwin opened the door. Charlotte stood at the door. Erwin asked strangely, is something wrong? Charlotte said, today is Quidditch. I heard from those little wizards that you promised to watch the game today. So they are waiting for you in the common room now. Let me see if you are awake. Erwin said, you just go there. It's not like I can't find a place. Charlotte spread her hands. I can't help it. They have to wait for you. I really envy you. You have such great prestige in Slytherin, and it's only been a week. I wonder if you will be there before the end of this semester. Unify Slytherin. Chapter 79. Erwin said quickly, don't dare to say this nonsense. People who don't know think I am some kind of villain. Charlotte rolled her eyes secretly, thinking that this person still thinks he is a decent person. After Erwin cleaned up, he straightened his hair. Looking at myself in the mirror, I am very satisfied. Sure enough, he is still so handsome. As expected of him, Elvin Cavendi, Erwin said, let's go. You can't miss the first Quidditch game. Charlotte nodded. Follow Erwin. The two of them walked towards the common room downstairs. In the common room, many young wizards have gathered together. Erwin was seen coming down the stairs. Stand up quickly. Prefect. Good morning. Erwin nodded. Okay. Let's go and cheer for the warriors who help us Slytherin win glory. All the little wizards were very excited. In fact, Erwin can understand it. After all, these poor wizards really don't have any entertainment other than watching Quidditch. Erwin suddenly felt that there might be a market for selling TVs in the wizarding world. After all, their spare time life is really lacking. Erwin walked out of the Slytherin common room first. Then a group of little wizards followed closely behind, consciously arranged in 2 lines. Erwin didn't know why. Slytherin now looks more and more like a regular army. You won't really let him change it to a military academy, right? Just thinking about Erwin made me look forward to it. If possible, can we let them shave their heads? Only hidden prefects can grow hair. Sorry, I'm cheating. At the same time, on the Hogwarts Quidditch field, in the auditorium, a group of young wizards have arrived. Even the professors are here. It was the first Quidditch match at Hogwarts after all. All professors were present. Even Old B came to the Quidditch match. It's just that he came to watch the game because it was Harry Potter's first time participating in the game, that's all. The young wizards on the stage were talking a lot. Why haven't you seen any Slytherin students? Yes, today is Slytherin's game. Why are they all absent? There are only a few here and there. It seems like they are only in 6th grade and 7th grade. In the Ravenclaw auditorium, Hermione craned her neck, looking for that figure. Zhang Qiu looked at Hermione and smiled. Okay, Hermione, don't worry. Erwin will definitely come. The Slytherin students said that their prefect promised to come to watch the game today. Hermione's face turned red instantly. I'm not waiting for him. I'm just looking at the scenery, yes, I'm just looking at the scenery. Zhang Qiu looked at the Quidditch field with nothing but stands around it. Shaking his head, he didn't expose Hermione. Girls have worries, everyone has them. Even she is the same. Mrs. Huachi came to the center of the field. Wave. Players from both sides enter. The 2 colleges have had a long-standing feud. Therefore, when you appear, you glare at each other. Harry Potter followed the Gryffindor crowd. Scanning the surrounding audience stands, I felt a little nervous. At this moment, Harry Potter saw Dumbledore. Dumbledore responded with a smile. Harry Potter felt at ease instantly. It's also Erwin's absence. If Erwin were here, he would be very disappointed. You might even be moved to tears. This is the bond. Encouragement from a guardian. Think again about your guardians. Forget it. Don't talk about it. Don't mention that idiot guardian. He is a fool. Mrs. Huachi came between the 2 teams. I don't know if I am afraid that they will fight. Mrs. Huachi announced the rules as usual. Just when the whistle is blown to start the game, Marcus spoke. Wait a minute. Professor Huachi, can you wait a moment and start? Mrs. Huachi frowned. Why? Marcus said, the prefect promised to come to our game today. We want to wait for the prefect. Mrs. Huachi looked at the time. He frowned. But the time has come. Marcus said seriously. I insist, Professor. Marcus's current attitude. Talking about it is inseparable from one person. That's Charlotte. While at the school nurse's office, Charlotte paid a visit. It's a visit in name only. In fact, she just said a few words. The first sentence, congratulations to Marcus for becoming the most miserable person under Erwin. In the second sentence, Erwin can crush Marcus's leg just by relying on the burst of magic power. If he really does it, he should know what the consequences will be for Marcus. Slytherin is ambitious, but equally, they also have strength first. Erwin's strength has convinced Marcus, who is not stingy. Coupled with Charlotte's words, Marcus feels that Erwin is really a generous person. He asked himself, if he were Erwin, if I say this, I will definitely give myself a magical weapon. As everyone knows, if Snape hadn't said it in advance, Erwin really meant to do this. Erwin also knew what Charlotte did, although he didn't know Charlotte's purpose. But Erwin believed that the tool should not be used in vain. No matter what her purpose was, the work would be over. Mrs. Huachi was a little embarrassed for a while. Turning to look at the audience, Dumbledore nodded slightly. Mrs. Huachi said, okay, then wait 5 minutes. Marcus nodded. The first game of Quidditch of the new school year was strangely pressed on the pause button. Players from both sides stood in the center of the field holding brooms. Wait quietly. The little wizards in the audience also heard what Marcus said, looking at each other. But no one said anything. Dumbledore watched the reactions of these young wizards. There was a flash of light in his eyes, a little surprised. Erwin had great prestige in Slytherin, which he could understand. But since when has Erwin been able to influence other colleges? It's actually very simple. After Erwin came to school, there seems to be little fanfare to win over people. But in fact, many details are the factors that determine victory or defeat. Ravenclaws like knowledge and learning, so they have a natural affinity for academics like Erwin. As for Hufflepuff, word had already spread about Erwin's help to the little badger in the charms class. Now Erwin's reputation in Hufflepuff is simply not very good. In particular, Spootlow, the professor who could take care of the Whomping Willow, was also very fond of Erwin. As for the little lion, they simply didn't dare to speak. After all, when Erwin was dealing with Marcus, they all saw it. Too scary. These little lions are representatives of courage, but except for people like Ron, the other little lions are brave but not stupid. They also know that there are some people they cannot beat. Chapter 80. Just then, in the viewing channel, a figure walked out of it. The person coming was none other than Erwin. Behind him was an army of little snakes. In an instant, a group of young wizards stood up quickly on the audience stage. Erwin was shocked. What's going on? What are these goods for? Several professors were also shocked. Several deans looked at their little wizards strangely. In fact, the little wizards stood up without knowing why. Anyway, when they saw the neat little snakes, they stood up subconsciously. Erwin steps into the audience. After choosing a location, waved his hand. A group of young wizards formed 2 rows neatly around Erwin. Several students in the 6th and 7th grades who were watching the game were pushed directly to the back. Several people looked at each other. A student in the 6th grade said, "When will Erwin challenge George? I can't wait." The other 2 6th grade students nodded quickly. As for the 6th-year Slytherin prefect, George Greengrass, his face turned dark. Yes, he is no match for Erwin. But when these guys spoke, didn't they consider his thoughts at all? They thought the same thing. As for the 7th grade students, their faces were full of wry smiles. Who would have thought that right after graduation, I would have multiple immediate bosses? Glodia has not shown his full strength, so they are not sure whether Glodia can fight against Erwin. After Erwin sat down, Marcus waited for the Slytherin Quidditch team members to turn around and bow slightly to the stands. Prefect, Erwin stood up. Come on everyone. For the glory of Slytherin. You are the real warriors. All the players suddenly felt an invisible force injected into their bodies. They wanted to defend the glory of Slytherin. A group of players chanted, "For Slytherin." The little snakes were also affected by this atmosphere. Chanting, "For Slytherin." The students from other colleges were frightened. Is this the correct way to cheer in Quidditch? You are all students of Hogwarts. Why do you know so many superclass things? Ron couldn't bear to see Erwin being in the limelight. I also want to gain a sense of presence. Shout, "For Gryffindor." However, no one paid attention to him. Even the little lions in Gryffindor looked at him like a fool. Ron blushed instantly. Gryffindor Quidditch Captain Oliver Wood's face darkened. It's on the same level as Slytherin. But before it even started, morale was already declining. This is a hammer. All the professors also looked at the Slytherin snakes. There was some wonder in his eyes. Even our dear Big Bat. Bah no, it's our dear Professor Snape. A look of pride flashed through his eyes involuntarily. Although it was quickly hidden, Erwin sat back down. Maintaining the character is too tiring. Mrs. Hooch returned to the center of the court again. Subsequently, a wave of his hand. Team members from both sides took off. Mrs. Hooch stepped on the box on the ground. Shouted commentator Lee Jordan. The players on both sides are now ready. The game is about to begin. Mrs. Hooch raised her head and glanced at the players on both sides. I hope both sides can compete with a high level and a high level of style. Say it. Mrs. Hooch kicked the box. Lee shouted. Now, the bludgers are in the air. Then comes the golden snitch. Harry Potter looked at the golden snitch flying in front of him. Keep your eyes firmly on the golden snitch. The golden snitch flapped its wings. Fly away directly. Mrs. Hooch picked up the quaffle. Throw it directly into the air. Lee shouted excitedly. The quaffle is thrown. The game officially begins. The players from both sides started taking action directly. Just like the original work, the first ball was taken by Angelina of Gryffindor. And success gets 10 points. Erwin crossed his arms across his chest. Didn't take it seriously. He never came here to watch Quidditch. What's the point of this thing? What Erwin was really interested in was, there was no intervention from Hermione now. Will Harry Potter die when Professor Quirrell fights with Snape? Oh no, Dumbledore is here. Harry will never die. Erwin was interested. Will there be other fun things happening? The game gradually became anxious. Erwin looked at the 2 teams of players walking back and forth around the stands. Once again, I genuinely dislike this activity. Too barbaric. You must know that they are all watching the game from the high stands. What if some idiot breaks the support of the stand? Doesn't it all have to be played? It's so unscientific. Sure enough, there is a reason why there are so few wizards. Because they always have all kinds of strange experiences of seeking death. As Marcus attacked twice, he was blocked by wood. And for example, coming to Gryffindor 20 is better than Slytherin 0. All the little snakes couldn't sit still. Erwin rolled his eyes. If nothing else, Marcus will soon think of a way to break the situation. As the saying goes, if you can't solve the problem, that simply solves the problem for the person. Just like now, Wood's defense is top-notch. With Wood around, Slytherin's attack was hindered. Then just deal with Wood and be done with it. Relaxed and happy. And this is allowed by the rules, right? From this point of view, Erwin quite admires Marcus. This kid's brain is quite active at certain times. Erwin loved it. Sure enough, the next moment, Marcus hit the bludger directly onto Wood. Wood was knocked down without even reacting. Without Wood, Slytherin quickly scored 20 points. The score is even. Erwin raised the corners of his mouth. The excitement is about to begin. Erwin turned his attention to Harry Potter. Sure enough, Harry Potter had discovered the golden snitch. He directly rode on the broom given by Professor McGonagall and rushed towards the golden snitch. However, the next moment, Harry Potter's broom suddenly went out of control, started to swing wildly in the air. Erwin glanced at the professor's stand. Sure enough, Professor Quirrell and Snape were both chanting spells. Erwin looked forward to it, this time without Hermione's help. What should Harry Potter do? Erwin looked at Dumbledore, just in time to see Dumbledore glance in the direction of Quirrell. He seemed to be aware of Erwin's gaze. Dumbledore turned to look. Show a smile. Erwin looked back. Sure enough, damn Dumbledore knew. Erwin had already made a guess. Dumbledore had too much control over Hogwarts. He wouldn't know about Quirrell's situation. Even if nothing else is said, Quirrell is Dumbledore's chosen professor. Something suddenly changed. Out of responsibility for the students, he also had to know what happened to Quirrell. Chapter 81. Then how could Dumbledore not know Quirrell's true situation? Therefore, Voldemort is the tool used by Dumbledore to help Harry Potter grow and gain reputation. To be more precise, Harry Potter is a weapon. A weapon used to deal with Horcruxes. Lawimby, I really did not call him wrong. As Harry Potter's broom shook more and more, Erwin was filled with anticipation. Will Dumbledore take action? Quirrell's words about magic are not as good as Snape's. But with this kind of remote spelling and remote interference, Snape was temporarily unable to deal with Quirrell. Shake it for a while, and Harry Potter will fall off the broom. However, at this moment, Erwin suddenly heard a commotion in the professor's chair. Erwin turned to look, just in time to see a bludger hit Professor Quirrell. Quirrell's expression changed greatly. He staggered and almost fell down. Erwin was shocked. Damn it, is it such a coincidence? But soon, Erwin frowned. No, there's something 12 out of 10 wrong. This bludger would never appear at Professor Quirrell's place by such a coincidence. But she still has a clear goal. Erwin looked at Snape. Sure enough, he saw Snape's sleeves shaking. Although the action is very subtle, but Erwin still saw a few things exposed. It was a wand. Erwin was shocked. Okay, worthy of Snape. While he is competing for magic power, you can still find time to cast a spell. Is this the value of the first professor? That's outrageous. The next game is the same as the original plot. Harry Potter relied on his crazy courage to swoop down and eat the golden snitch. Watching Harry Potter spit out the golden snitch from his mouth, Erwin curled his lips in disgust. It's really a bit disgusting. How many bacteria must there be up there? To be honest, the misophobic Erwin really couldn't accept it. So disgusting. Mrs. Huichi blew her whistle and the bell rang. Game over. Harry Potter catches the golden snitch. Gryffindor wins. There were bursts of cheers from the Gryffindor seats. Ron looked at the Slytherin snakes proudly. He cast his gaze on Erwin. He even raised his eyebrows provocatively. However, Erwin didn't look at him at all. This made Ron's good mood disappear instantly. Erwin didn't know this. He didn't care about Quidditch. As for Ron, Erwin doesn't care anymore. There are never ants in the eyes of elephants. Marcus looked ugly. The Slytherin players floated in front of the Slytherin stands. I'm sorry, Prefect. I disappoint you. Slytherin's seeker Terrence Higgs lowered his head. I'm sorry, Prefect. I'm scared. Marcus glared at Terrence. His face was very gloomy. Erwin stood up. Okay, it's just a temporary gain or loss. Moreover, the golden snitch itself is uncontrollable. Terrence, you did the right thing. Slytherin, you must always remember to take care of your own safety in order to pursue greater ambitions. Everything is based on the premise that you are still alive. All the little snakes thought about Erwin's words. Erwin said, "The same goes for you. Remember, no matter what you face, only by protecting yourself can you plan for a better future. I hope you keep this in mind. Don't risk your own life. Unless, this profit it's worth taking the risk. Obviously, the outcome of a game is not worth fighting for with your own lives." Terrence's eyes were full of emotion. His eyes were red. Thank you, Prefect." Erwin smiled and said, "No matter what, you are all heroes. You are real warriors. Now, little snakes, applaud our heroes." All the little snakes burst into applause. It's like Slytherin won the game. Harry Potter looked at the thunderous applause of Slytherin. For the first time, he envied Slytherin, and he even regretted it. Maybe he should have listened to the Sorting Hat and gone to Slytherin. The students in other houses also looked at Slytherin. I couldn't help but clap along. This moment, as the winner, Gryffindor was ignored. Erwin said, "Okay, go change clothes. It's almost lunchtime. I think you don't want to miss Saturday's sumptuous lunch." Marcus nodded. "Leave with all the team members." Erwin casually picked up the newspaper that had been spread on the stool. Prepare to leave with all the little snakes in the stands. But at this moment, the sky suddenly became gloomy. Bursts of thunder shuttled through the clouds. Erwin stopped and looked up. Dumbledore's expression changed slightly. Subsequently, the figure immediately jumped into the air. "All Hogwarts students, leave the grounds. Now, immediately." Snape turned to look at Erwin. "Erwin, take them away." Erwin nodded. "Slytherin students, leave the stands as soon as possible." Erwin also quickly got off the stand. Under the stands, Snape was waiting. Erwin asked, "Professor, why are you here?" Snape said, "Let's go. I will take you away." Erwin nodded. Just then, from the sky, a bolt of thunder fell directly. Dumbledore waved his wand. The next moment, flames rose into the sky. Thunder was swallowed directly. Dumbledore looked a little cold. "This is Hogwarts. You are so brave." Erwin keenly felt the magic power surging out of Dumbledore's body. Erwin's face changed slightly. Dumbledore is angry. The next moment, in the air, several men in black robes suddenly appeared. Without any tools, they were just suspended in the air. Surround Dumbledore in the middle. "Dumbledore, hand over the man." Dumbledore's face was gloomy. "This is Hogwarts. This is not your place. Leave now. I can pretend that nothing has happened." The man in black robes said, "Dumbledore, we have no intention of being your enemy. However, he must be handed over." Erwin listened to these words. Thought for a moment. These people are here to seek revenge. It's a bit outrageous to dare to come to Hogwarts to seek revenge. I don't know who is so unlucky. Erwin glanced at the men in black robes. Suddenly, Erwin's pupil shrank. The staff held by the man in black robe was a metal staff with a crystal ball on it. Damn it. This group is here to find him. He is the unlucky guy. Chapter 82. Thinking of this, Erwin's steps became a little faster. Just kidding, everyone knows whether the other person is here to seek revenge, or he is here to find him. Erwin is not crazy. He is still hanging around outside. As for going against the enemy, stop it, damn. These guys can control thunder and lightning. Who knows if it still belongs to the magic system? Anyway, let's take a closer look at the curses in Harry Potter. Erwin had never seen such a spell before. This kind of person is not something he can touch. Besides, even if Erwin can win, Erwin won't even fight. A gentleman does not stand under dangerous walls and dares to come to Hogwarts to cause trouble. It's still Hogwarts where Dumbledore is. It is conceivable that this group of people has a certain level of realism. Don't you see that even Voldemort and our dear Mr. No-Nose have to wait until Dumbledore is dead before he dares to attack Hogwarts? When Voldemort was at his peak, all parts of the wizarding world fell. Only Hogwarts Voldemort dared not come. Why? Isn't it because of Dumbledore, an outrageous old man? Erwin didn't know how much stronger Dumbledore was than Voldemort. But Erwin was certain. If we just talk about the magic rating of the system, in Erwin's perception, regardless of the existence of those myths, Dumbledore is already the strongest. I say Dumbledore is getting old every day. Strength has weakened. But Erwin turned to look at Dumbledore in the sky. The Elder Wand is like a flamethrower. Fire burst out suddenly. Fortunately, noon was as clear as dusk. You call this old? Your strength has weakened? Stop it. Erwin felt that if Old Din threw away his wand, covered half of his mouth, and reduced his magic power by half, he would be able to defeat himself. Are you saying that his strength has weakened? As for Dumbledore's death at the hands of Malfoy in the original book, that's so obviously a game. Old Dengtu is so courageous. Use your own life to decide. The key is that what he did in this game was too comprehensive. The characteristic of the Elder Wand is to surrender to the strong. So whoever defeats Dumbledore will be the master of the Elder Wand. The Elder Wand was buried with Old Ding, but no one knew at the time that the owner of the Elder Wand had become Malfoy. Later Malfoy was defeated by Harry Potter. So when the Elder Wand didn't appear, it changed its owner twice. After Voldemort killed Gregorovitch, he dug up the Elder Wand from the grave. As a result, the Elder Wand disobeyed him. Voldemort thought Snape was the master of the Elder Wand, so he killed Snape. This was Old Ding's first plan, to use Snape's life to make everyone in the Death Eaters in danger. Later, the Malfoys learned that their son was the one who killed Dumbledore. So I guess that the owner of the Elder Wand was actually my son. This time, in order to save their son's life, the couple began to set a trap for Voldemort. This is Lao Dengto's second plan. In the end, Voldemort, the unlucky man, used the Elder Wand that did not surrender to him to confront the real owner of the Elder Wand, Harry Potter, being ravaged. This plot originally seemed unreasonable. After all, a Dark Lord couldn't defeat a useless Harry Potter. This in itself is an outrageous thing. But if you consider the Elder Wand, it's really reasonable. If you use someone else's exclusive weapon to attack the owner of the weapon, who else will die if you don't die? This is Dumbledore's final plan. Unbeknownst to anyone, the Elder Wand had surrendered to Harry Potter, ultimately leading to Voldemort's defeat. I have to say that even Erwin, who has read the original work, finds Dumbledore terrifying. This old bee is really very calculating. Everything is under his control. He has the strength to defeat Voldemort, but he cannot completely destroy Voldemort. Because of the existence of Horcruxes, only Harry Potter, who is also a Horcrux, can completely eliminate Voldemort. Dumbledore used an Elder Wand to disintegrate the Death Eaters and completely eliminate Voldemort. From this point of view, Erwin admired him. If you don't say anything else, just say that Old Dengto's courage is not something ordinary people can have. In fact, regardless of personal qualities, Dumbledore is really a great man. After Erwin and Snape sent all the Slytherin students into the castle, negotiations in the air have also ended. Obviously, Dumbledore's negotiations failed. I saw the scepters in the hands of several men in black falling heavily. The next moment, blue barriers appeared one after another, sealing Dumbledore firmly in the center. Erwin was shocked. If he gets angry, he must be getting angry. Why does this thing look so similar to the 4 purple flame formation in Naruto? Wrong set? Dumbledore looked at the barrier that enclosed him, said, "Are you going to fight me with this? You're still far from it. Leave now. I won't take action against you. You can't touch him while I'm at Hogwarts for 1 day." One of the men in black said, "With this alone, we certainly don't think we can defeat the famous Dumbledore. However, our purpose has never been to fight you." The man in black robe finished speaking. Dumbledore's expression changed greatly. He lowered his head and looked at Erwin and Snape, who were about to enter the castle. I saw a man in black robe who appeared from nowhere and attacked Erwin directly. Erwin also felt a sense of crisis. The next moment, before he could react, he was pushed away directly by Snape. Snape flicked his sleeve. The wand appears in hand. Then the wand waved continuously. Silent spells were waved out one after another. In front of the man in black robe, a series of vines blocked the path of the man in black robe. Subsequently, he connected 3 magic spells and rushed towards the man in black robe. The divine edge is shadowless. The upside-down golden bell. Expelliarmus. Erwin was shocked. Damn it, my charming professor. What is this casting speed? Too fast. This wand seems to have turned into Gatling. Colorful lights swished and shot. Blast towards the man in black robe. Snape turned and shouted, "Enter the castle." Erwin was stunned. Isn't the situation under control? Why did Snape seem a little anxious? But Erwin's main thing is to listen to advice, especially things related to your own life. Erwin didn't even bother to nod in response. Turn around and run. Just ran into the castle. Erwin passed several professors. Professor McGonagall, Professor Flitwick, Professor Sprout. The 3 deans appeared at the same time. Professor McGonagall said, "Erwin, go and calm down the students. Leave the outside matters to us." Erwin nodded. Looking at the backs of the 3 professors leaving, Erwin was inexplicably aroused. Darling, big scene, big scene. The final battle in the final chapter of Harry Potter has begun. Early. Chapter 83. Although Erwin wanted to watch the battle, but just think about it. This kind of battle is not something he can get involved in. Not to mention anything else. Just before entering the castle, Erwin saw the glass ball on the scepter in the black-robed man's hand light up for a moment. Then a magic shield formed in front of him. All of Snape's magic hit it. It was eliminated immediately. Erwin felt that this move was a bit outrageous. Anyway, Erwin believed that his iron armor curse could not achieve this effect. It's really like beating up a cat or a dog. That's Snape. Just then, Erwin suddenly felt a powerful magic bursting out between heaven and earth. Then a voice sounded. "You are too presumptuous." Erwin knew the sound as soon as he heard it. This is Dumbledore. For the first time, Erwin had an intuitive feeling about Dumbledore's tyranny. This magic is so terrifying. If Erwin's magic power is like a pool of water now, then Dumbledore's magic power is like an ocean. Just 2 words, outrageous. Through the glass in the hallway, Erwin saw that the entire sky had turned red. A cry. The next moment, a phoenix wrapped in flames galloped from high in the sky. Fox. Erwin was very interested in this phoenix. In the original novel, this thing looks like a turkey. He doesn't appear many times, and his combat prowess is not described. Fox flapped his wings and rushed towards the barrier. But the next moment, a man in black robes appeared, blocked Fox. The scepter in his hand lit up, and a jet-black beam of light rushed towards Fox. Fox cried. The next moment, wings flap. Waves of monstrous flames erupted from his body. Stand in front of you and block the black beam. Erwin swallowed. Is this the true strength of Phoenix? What the hell? They even said that there was no leakage in the original work. Just this one Phoenix could kill half of the Death Eaters. It's too exaggerated. Erwin walked towards the auditorium and watched the battle through the glass. At this time, the battle between Snape and several other professors had also become intense. There was originally one man in black robe, but he didn't know when he turned into 4. Fight fiercely with the 4 deans. The swishing and flying magic spells are beyond the reach of ordinary movie special effects. However, why are there so many people in black robes? 6 formed formations to block Dumbledore, 1 to block Fawkes, and 4 to block the 4 professors. That's 11. Where do these people come from? Fortunately, they don't have another accomplice. Otherwise, I really don't know who can stop them. However, Erwin's thoughts just stopped. The next moment, in mind, a rapid siren sounded. Ding ding ding. Host flash. When Erwin heard the system's words, his body subconsciously moved to the side. The next moment, a bolt of lightning struck directly where Erwin was standing. Then a soft cry came. It's interesting. I actually avoided it. It seems that you are indeed different. Erwin's back was wet. What the hell? His crow's mouth really got it right. There really is another one. Erwin looked at a man in black robes walking out of the shadows in the corridor. His face was very ugly. Who are you? Why are you attacking me? The man in black robes said pitifully. How pitiful. You don't even know your identity, so you probably don't know how your parents died, right? What a coincidence. Your parents died in my hands. And you are going to die in my hands now too. Erwin heard this. His expression remained unchanged. The man in black robes smiled. It's interesting. Is it so plain? It surprises me. Of course Erwin would not be so plain, and without any ripples. But he knew very well that when facing the enemy, his emotions would be affected by the enemy's words. Then the only thing waiting for you is death. Erwin said, I'm curious. How did you enter Hogwarts? Hogwarts is under Dumbledore's surveillance. You entered Hogwarts. Dumbledore will not know. The man in black robes spread his hands. For the sake of your dying, I will tell you. While I am in a good mood. It's simple, because there is no magic power in my body. Therefore, what Dumbledore laid down at Hogwarts, you can't detect me with this method. Oh, by the way, your parents died in my hands because of this. I have to admit, Dumbledore actually protected them well back then. What a pity. Erwin's heart moved slightly. No magic? How is it possible? So where did the thunder and lightning come from just now? The man in black robes said, Okay, it's time to hit the road. Erwin stretched out his hand. Wait a minute. Are you going to kill me like this? I think you are putting so much effort into it, not just to kill me. Otherwise, there is no need to attack Hogwarts. You must have some conspiracy on me. Just kill me like this? Is it in your interest? The man in black robes said, You are very smart. You are different from others. Yes, you are right. We do need you. But we can accept life or death. Although life is good, but I don't think you'll just give in. As he spoke, the crystal ball on the scepter in the black-robed man's hand lit up. Erwin raised his hand again. Wait a minute. If you don't ask me, how do you know that I won't be captured without mercy? The man in black robe was silent. He suddenly felt that what Erwin said seemed to make sense. The man in black robe put down the scepter in his hand. Then you mean you are willing to surrender and leave with us? Erwin raised the corners of his mouth. A bright smile unfolds. Do I want you? The next moment, Erwin threw his hands out. There were a few crisp sounds. 2 round objects rolled directly to the feet of the black-robed man. The man in black robe had not yet reacted to Erwin's words. I saw 2 round things rolling under my feet, he said disdainfully. Is this your trump card? 2 iron balls. However, the next moment, there were 2 loud bangs. 2 balls of flames directly engulfed the man in black robe. Erwin was not idle. A flick of the wrist. The wand appears in hand. Expelliarmus. God's edge is shadowless. Ah, forget it. Using the killing curse at Hogwarts. Unless there is really no other way. Otherwise, Erwin wouldn't want to go to Azkaban. There is a rule in the magical world. As long as the 3 unforgivable curses are used, no matter whether you are a good person or a bad person, you have to go to Azkaban. In the original book, Harry Potter used legilimency on Snape, but that was because it was wartime. Normally, no one dares to use it blatantly. It's all done secretly. Of course, except for the Dark Wizard, Erwin was sent here. Chapter 84. After using the spell, Erwin was still worried. He waved his wand and cast the iron armor charm on himself. Then there was a flash of light, and Erwin's big baby, minigun, fell to the floor. Erwin got directly behind the shield, both hands on the trigger. Subsequently, just press. Erwin didn't care whether the other party was killed by a grenade. For insurance reasons, Erwin needs to clear the ground with bullets first. Prudence. The main thing is caution. The bullets formed a line of fire and fired forward. Hogwarts, this 1,000-year-old castle has never been imagined in my dreams. It will one day be baptized by hot weapons. The bullet casings clattered to the ground. Makes a crisp sound. Erwin's eyes gradually glowed with a blood-red halo. I don't know when the corners of my mouth will open. A head of silver-white hair, fluttering in the wind. The whole person is in a state of excitement. The faces of the 4 professors who were fighting with the men in black robes changed drastically. Professor McGonagall exclaimed, "What is the sound? Why is there an explosion in the castle?" Only Snape. His expression changed instantly. The wand in his hand waved continuously. Defeat the man in black robe. You guys stop me. I'll go take a look. After speaking, Snape had no time to wait for a response. Rushed directly towards the castle. In a hurry, he turned into a black mist. You know, he has almost never used this trick in front of others. Because this is the representative of Death Eaters. Professor McGonagall frowned, looking at Snape leaving. To make Snape so nervous, Professor McGonagall's heart skipped a beat. Erwin. It must be Erwin. Professor McGonagall didn't know much about Erwin, but she knew the last name Cavendi. She had no idea what the last name Cavendi stood for. She only knew that Snape had a very good relationship with Cavendi, Erwin's father. Therefore, there are only 2 people who can make Snape so nervous, Harry Potter and Erwin. And now the only one who can make such a big noise is Erwin. Thinking of this, Professor McGonagall also became anxious. The wand in his hand waved faster. The wand was a little above the gravel on the ground. The next moment, a giant made of stone began to reorganize directly in front of Professor McGonagall, instantly turned into a huge stone man. Flitwick and Professor Sprout looked at each other. Flitwick exclaimed, "Minerva, she's getting serious." Professor Sprout nodded. "Then let's solve it as soon as possible." Flitwick nodded. The next moment, these 2 people seemed to be unparalleled. On the magic wand in his hand, spells flew out one after another. The most outrageous thing is that Flitwick waved his wand at the same time. Sometimes 2 magic spells can be cast. It was obvious that the silent and silent spells were being used at the same time. This time, the 4 men in black robes were almost beaten to death. How scary the headmaster of Hogwarts is when he gets serious. They didn't know it before, but they know now. They finally realized that the dean-level professors and general-level professors at Hogwarts were 2 completely different creatures. And at this time, Erwin was already immersed in a very strange state. He pulled the trigger. Bullet casings were already layered under the feet. The passage in front of me felt like it had been swept through by a tornado. Trash everywhere. Dust was everywhere, and I couldn't see the passage ahead clearly. As soon as Snape came in, he saw Erwin going crazy. Snape quickly came to Erwin's side. Erwin turned his head sharply. Blood-red eyes looked at Snape. A smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Professor Snape, do you want to play? It's very fun. Snape frowned. He took out a porcelain bottle. He directly held Erwin's mouth and poured it into Erwin. As the medicine enters the mouth, the red light gradually dissipated in Erwin's eyes. Only then did Erwin feel the soreness in his arm. Fee, it hurts. Snape said, how many people have you killed in the Muggle world? How could you escape from the suppression of the potion so quickly? Erwin said nothing. How many people were killed? He doesn't know. All he knew was that in order to survive, he had to cleanse the entire Renton gang. He did a lot of it himself. No one really thinks that he can win Renton just by relying on his brains, right? This is a gang, and Erwin is a kid. If it weren't for his ruthless tactics, who would be afraid of him and who would obey him? So Erwin doesn't know how many people he killed. What he can remember is that Erwin experienced an assassination when he was 8 years old. In addition to Rivers, there were 2 other confidants beside him at that time. They all died that time. Erwin almost died too. Later, he personally took action to clean up the other party. That time, everyone in the other party's family, including children as young as 3 and 4, died in Erwin's hands. Therefore, how could he remember clearly how many people he had killed over the years? Seeing that Erwin didn't speak, Snape sighed. Forget it. I won't ask you anymore. Don't even think about it. Subsequently, Snape looked towards the passage where the smoke and dust gradually dispersed. What looked like a corpse was lying on the ground. Why is it said to be suspicious? Because you really can't tell what the prototype is from this thing. The whole thing was shattered by bullets. Snape waved his wand. The next moment, a ball of flame appeared from above Snape's wand. The corpse on the ground was directly burned, and then Snape waved his wand. Recover quickly. As Snape chanted the incantation, above the corridor, the mess that had been swept away by bullets began to recover automatically. Soon, a new passage appeared. There was no trace of bullet polishing at all. Snape said, no matter who asks you, don't tell what happened today. Don't say that you killed him. Do you understand? Erwin nodded. I know, Professor. He said he killed my parents. Is it true? Snape was stunned for a moment. What else did he say? Erwin said, he said he had no magic power, so he was able to avoid Dumbledore's arrangements and enter Hogwarts, just like when he killed my parents. Snape suddenly felt a murderous aura on his body. So that's how it is. No wonder I made so many arrangements in the first place. But they succeeded. So that's how it is. Damn it, Erwin said. Professor Snape, who are they? Why do they want to kill me? In other words, what do they want from me? Snape was silent for a moment. You can't know now. Your strength is too poor. If you can really win the prefect of Slytherin, I will consider telling you something. Now, go to the auditorium. Don't tell anyone what happened today. An author friend showed off to me that he received a king of gifts. I was very bitter, but I told him that my readers would also give gifts. So did anyone understand my hint? Chapter 85. After hearing this, Erwin didn't say much. Show your hands. In fact, he has started to get used to it. Every day is mysterious. Of course, Erwin could also understand Snape. Look at this scene today. The enemies he has to face may actually be some amazing people. As the saying goes, the more you know, the sooner you will die. Therefore, Snape did not tell Erwin now because he was afraid that Erwin could not help but take the initiative to take revenge. But what a steady person Erwin is. Erwin would never do anything until he was 100% sure. Even if he was only 99% sure, Erwin would not take any risk, especially risking your own life. At this time, Professor McGonagall and others also walked into the castle. It was obvious that the men in black robes outside had been dealt with. After seeing Erwin, Professor McGonagall quickly asked, Erwin, are you okay? Did you encounter an enemy? Erwin nodded. I'm fine, Professor. A man in black robes sneaked into the castle and attacked me. Fortunately, Professor Snape arrived and solved him. Professor McGonagall breathed a sigh of relief upon hearing this. In that case, let's go to the auditorium. The students should be scared. Erwin wondered. Professor, don't you need to help Professor Dumbledore? Professor McGonagall said, Don't worry, Professor Dumbledore will be fine. Let's go to the auditorium. Erwin nodded. Looking at Professor McGonagall's expression, Erwin thought for a moment. It seems that Professor McGonagall did not take this attack seriously. Is it because your strength is displayed here that you feel confident? In the auditorium, all the students of Hogwarts are staying here. As we all know, the tradition of Hogwarts. Whenever there is danger at Hogwarts, The professors will gather all the students together. On the one hand, it is for the convenience of protection, and on the other hand, it is also to prevent crises from taking advantage of, such as the Chamber of Secrets incident, such as the Death Eaters attacking Hogwarts. Erwin went directly to where the Slytherin students were gathering. All the little wizards stood up quickly. Prefect. Erwin nodded. Yes, everyone. Sit back in your seats and wait for the meal. It's almost time for dinner. All the little snakes nodded. It didn't take long. Dumbledore entered the Great Hall. All the little wizards turned to look. Dumbledore smiled and said, "It seems I can still make it in time for dinner." Dumbledore walked onto the stage. Then he tapped his fingers lightly on the table. The next moment, dishes appeared on the table. Ever since Erwin started eating Chinese food at Hogwarts, the Hogwarts recipes began to change. Chinese food became the main theme. Even with so many meals, I don't know if the poor McGee house elf will be very tired. Erwin ate deliciously. As for the men in black robes, Erwin had long forgotten about them. Is there anything more important in this world than eating? Nothing. If so, it must be that the food is not tasty enough. But it's obvious that McGee's craftsmanship is still as good as ever. After eating, Erwin comes to Dumbledore's office. Sweet and sour pork. The next moment, the door to Dumbledore's office opened. Of course, this password was also told by Dumbledore to Erwin, and it was also Dumbledore who told Erwin to come to the office. For this password, Erwin really couldn't complain. Does Oldby really like sweets that much? Erwin, who used to have cockroaches piling up candies, couldn't bear it anymore. It's better now. The emergence of Dasha recipes has given Oldby some new ideas for setting passwords. Entering the office, Erwin looked at everything around him curiously. Speaking of which, this is the first time Erwin has come to Oldby's office. Erwin looked at everything around him. Not to mention, Dumbledore's office is really big. It doesn't look too messy. Sure enough, the room was clean and smell-free. She was either a transvestite or a gay person. This sentence is really applicable to Dumbledore. In the office, Dumbledore has not returned yet. Hey, a little wizard. Silver white hair. Are you Cavendi? Erwin looked around. I saw several murals on the wall looking at him curiously. Erwin bowed slightly. I have met all the principals. I am Cavendi. Erwin Cavendi. One of the portraits said, "It's so similar. You are almost the same as your father. No, you are even prettier than him." Erwin looked at the portrait. There is a name tag on the lower left side of the portrait. Phineas, Nigellist, Black. Erwin understood that this was the headmaster known as the most unpopular at Hogwarts. Phineas said, "When your father came to the principal's office, I looked at him the same way." Erwin said, "Salute to you, respected principal." Phineas nodded slightly. "Well, polite little guy. You are really a born Slytherin. I heard that you were attacked today?" Erwin nodded. "Yes, it's very thrilling. If it weren't for Professor Snape, I think I would be in danger today." Phineas smiled and said, "Little guy. Very polite, but dishonest. Don't you know that there is communication between all the portraits in the castle? There are also portraits in the corridor where you were sitting." Erwin was stunned for a moment. He had forgotten about it. Phineas said, "It doesn't matter. I like your caution. I also know something about Cavendi. I'm sorry about your parents. You know, among the Slytherins of that generation, there are only 4 people I like the most. Your parents, Snape, and... Forget it, let's not talk about it. What's the matter with you coming to the principal's office?" Although Phineas did not continue, but Erwin knew who he was talking about. Voldemort. Only Voldemort. A person who is too good to be written down in books. That's right, it's excellent. This is what Erwin said about Voldemort. Don't talk about Voldemort's character. Just talking about the things he did, can it be called excellent? Amazing talent and full of ambition. It's a pity that I have a bad mind. As long as you have a better mind, it doesn't matter who will win. In Erwin's opinion, Voldemort only did one wrong thing. That is, he believed in the so-called language. Where would Erwin be placed? Then Erwin really doesn't take the so-called prophecy seriously. All worries and crises are due to lack of ability. Erwin said, "Headmaster Dumbledore asked me to come." Phineas nodded. "That's right. Then just sit in the office for a while. He will be back soon." Chapter 86. Erwin sat in a chair. Asked, looking at several other photo frames. "Aren't the other principals here?" Phineas said, "Well, you know, staying in the portrait is quite boring. So they will go out for a walk from time to time. You will know when you die. Being in a frame every day is really boring." "Mean." Erwin's face darkened. "What's going on with Lao Ding? What do you mean by waiting for him to die? Can you wish him well? Just come up and wait for him to die. Is it polite? Phineas smiled when he saw Erwin's darkened face. It seems you don't like hearing about your own death. Erwin said, I think so. After all, I feel that I am only 11 years old, and death is still a bit far away for me. If possible, I still want to live. Phineas nodded. I thought the same thing as you before. Forget it, don't talk about this. Did you hear that you were going to do some morning and evening self-study? Erwin nodded. Yeah, that's right. You should be happy when you go to school. I have heard a saying that learning makes people happy. I think that by adding self-study in the morning and evening, the little wizards will definitely be happier. Phineas rolled his eyes and said, If you were in the same period as me, I think I would be tempted to give you a curse. Erwin smiled and said, Then my luck is really good. Phineas looked at Erwin and said, it is possible. Win the prefect challenge. Believe me, you will get benefits you did not expect. Slytherin still belongs to you young people after all. Yes, I want to witness a piece of history, even in the form of a portrait. Erwin solemnly said, I will. Principal. If Slytherin needs a prefect, then the prefect will definitely be me. Phineas smiled and said, Very good. I like your confidence. I believe you can do it. When the day you become a prefect, I will leave this picture frame and express my congratulations to you in person. Erwin bowed slightly. You will see this day. For this so-called most unpopular principal, Erwin actually quite liked it. The reason why the Black family is not liked by others. It's because no one in the history of principals graduated from Slytherin except the one in front of him. As for Slytherin, I understand everything. Before Erwin came to Hogwarts, Slytherin was really not liked. If all the little wizards were asked to choose a favorite college, they might not be able to choose an answer, because everyone will choose their own college. But if you have to choose the college you hate the most, then Slytherin will definitely reach the top with full votes. This is Slytherin's current situation. Not to mention that everyone screams for beating, but people also hate dogs. However, luckily Erwin showed up. Erwin unknowingly influenced a lot and changed a lot. At least those second-generation ancestors who liked to provoke others when they had nothing to do. Now, under Erwin's restraint, they have become polite gentlemen, even if they don't want to. But in order not to embarrass Slytherin, they had to pretend. Even though Erwin has only been here for a short time, his impact on Hogwarts is already considerable. Just when Erwin was chatting with our Principal Black, there was a sound of flapping wings. The next moment, Fox flew in through the window. Subsequently, flames spurted out from its wings. The flames fell to the ground, and Dumbledore's figure appeared. Erwin exclaimed, Professor, this hand is so cool. Phineas rolled his eyes to the sky. You always like to show off so much. Dumbledore. Dumbledore's expression remained unchanged. A gentle wave of the palm. A gray cloth was draped over Phineas's portrait. The next moment, Phineas's curse came. Soul egg. Dumbledore. You are so presumptuous. How dare you? If it weren't for my useless descendants, how dare you do this to me? Damn it. Dumbledore's expression remained unchanged. He smiled at Erwin and said, I'm getting older. They just like to be surprised. What do you think? Do you want to try signing a contract with Phoenix? You can do it in the future too. Erwin waved his hand quickly. Forget it, Principal. I'll say goodbye. Erwin knew very well what the Phoenix contract represented. It was passed down from Dumbledore's family. Let's not say whether I can successfully sign the contract. As long as you try it yourself, you owe Dumbledore a favor. Although the combat power of this Phoenix is quite impressive to Erwin, but it obviously doesn't match Erwin's style. Dumbledore didn't say much when he saw this. Come to the table. He took out 2 candies from the drawer and ate each one by himself. The other one was handed to Erwin. Would you like to try it? Erwin shook his head. No, Professor. I'm afraid of getting cavities. Dumbledore squinted his eyes. Sweetness is really the happiest taste in the world. Unfortunately, you don't seem to like sweets. Erwin said, in the Muggle world, scientific research shows that sugar can stimulate dopamine in the human body. Therefore, it will make people feel happy, and when consuming sugar, the body's functions will be replenished and the brain will be stimulated. Stay awake. It is commonly known that people who eat sugar will be smart. Dumbledore said in surprise, Is that so? The Muggle world is developing really fast. The power of technology. It's really amazing. Then Mr. Erwin, the weapons you used in the corridors and the Forbidden Forest are also Muggles. A product of the Melon world? Erwin was not surprised that Dumbledore would know that he used Gatling Bodhisattva, the equality of all beings. the great mercifulness, and the great compassion. It would be a surprise if Dumbledore didn't know. This man's control over Hogwarts is the greatest in history, even more outrageous than the Big Four. When the Big Four were around, the four people were in charge of their own affairs and were all equal, and no one could truly fully control the Hogwarts castle that the four of them built together. Later principals could not fully control it. Only Dumbledore. This guy is simply evil. He can study and understand all the secret rooms in Hogwarts, and the tunnels are a mess. And with complete control over Hogwarts, the little wizards thought they were traveling at night, avoiding everyone. As everyone knows, Dumbledore knows everything. Erwin even doubted whether this guy knew exactly how many fish there were in the Black Lake. So if you want to hide anything from Dumbledore at Hogwarts, it is simply impossible. Erwin said, I'm just trying to protect myself. A flash of light flashed above Dumbledore's glasses. Really? I don't think robbing the eight-eyed spider's venom is for self-protection. Erwin, those weapons of yours are too dangerous. Chapter 87. Erwin frowned slightly. So, what does the professor mean? Dumbledore said, I will keep your weapons for you. You will not encounter any danger in Hogwarts. Erwin sneered. Really? Professor? If there weren't these weapons you called dangerous in the corridor today, I would be dead. You told me that I won't encounter the slightest danger in Hogwarts? Dumbledore was silent for a moment and said, That was an accident. Erwin spread his hands. Maybe, but who can guarantee that this accident will not happen again? So asking me to hand over those weapons is impossible. Dumbledore said, In Hogwarts, they will never come again. This is the condition for me to let them go. Erwin shook his head. Professor, I have taken over the family business since I was 6 years old. I will not leave my safety in the hands of others. Dumbledore thought for a moment. If you insist, forget it. But you must promise me that you cannot use your weapons unless necessary. Erwin spread his hands. Okay, but if my safety is threatened, I will still use it. Dumbledore nodded. You can no longer use your weapons to find the Acromantula in the Forbidden Forest. Erwin said, So, is the Acromantula coming to complain to you? Dumbledore shook his head. No. The Acromantula migrated on a large scale to the territories of other magical animals, and the centaurs found me. Erwin understood. What the hell, Acromantula? How dare you run away? The little hot chick can't afford it. Erwin said, The principal came to me today and just wanted to tell me this? Dumbledore shook his head. No, I have something to ask you. Erwin chuckled. Oh, the professor actually has something to ask me for. Dumbledore said, I will be away for a while, probably about a week. I hope you can help me look after Potter. Erwin wondered. Potter? Harry Potter? Look after him? Dumbledore nodded. Yes, they are curious about something, and this matter is very dangerous. I hope you can help me take care of them while I am away. Erwin smiled. I refuse. Professor, I have no idea about being a nanny. And, with all due respect, Professor, if this matter is dangerous according to what you said, then you can completely prevent them from pursuing it. It's not difficult for you. Dumbledore shook his head. He needs to grow up. Erwin said. So, you let me be a nanny? To be honest, Professor, this is not a good idea. Of course, if you condition it on you sheltering me in Hogwarts, I will reluctantly do it. Difficult to accept. Dumbledore choked. In fact, he really has this plan. But now let Erwin speak out. It was hard for him to say it directly. Dumbledore said, Potter is also your classmate, isn't he? Erwin shook his head. Professor Dumbledore, I think you made a mistake. I am Slytherin, the prefect of Slytherin, and Harry Potter and his little friends are Gryffindors. Many. Looking at Erwin, who is not getting enough of oil and salt, Dumbledore also felt a little headache. Erwin, I left Hogwarts because of your affairs. Do you understand? I am an old man who wants to help you, but you are not even willing to do some small help. Erwin was shocked. It's bad. This guy started to kidnap his morals. What a good hand. Not to mention, if it were anyone else, Dumbledore would really be holding him hostage. But, it's obvious. Erwin is not such a person. If you have no morals, no one can kidnap you morally. Obviously, Erwin belongs to that small group of people who are very immoral. Erwin stood up. Bow 90 degrees. For your help. I will remember it in my heart. Professor, I am grateful to you. I will always remember your kindness to me. After Erwin finished speaking, a sneer came from the portrait that was covered just now. Dumbledore, I didn't expect you to be here today. Well done, boy. This is how you should treat this kind of person. Erwin bowed slightly. Thank you for your compliment, Principal Black. Dumbledore's face darkened visibly. This was the first time he met someone like Erwin, very different from his father. Erwin's father is very easygoing and likes to help others. Even in Slytherin, he has excellent popularity. It's not like Erwin is so annoying. After a while, Dumbledore sighed. Say your terms, Erwin. Erwin raised the corners of his mouth. That's right. If only you had been nagging like this. Isn't it already settled? You want him to work without giving any benefits. How is this possible? Erwin said. I want the permission to apparate in Hogwarts. Dumbledore frowned. Hogwarts Apparition Authority? Why do you want this? Erwin said. Run for your life. If I encounter today's situation again, I can just apparate away. After all, I now know that someone wants my life. So why shouldn't I be more careful? Dumbledore thought for a moment. I just asked you to take care of Harry for a week, and you have the authority to disapparate. Isn't it a bit insufficient? Erwin said, Professor, do you want to talk about the price? Dumbledore nodded. Yeah, I think we can talk about it. If you just rely on a week of care, it's not worth the price. Erwin said, This is easy to handle. Professor Dumbledore, your original intention is to let Harry grow up, or in other words, no matter what you're planning, your ultimate goal is to serve as Harry's whetstone. But I'm sorry. Let me put it bluntly, being in Gryffindor, and the people around him did not help his growth at all. Harry can't learn anything from them, can he? Dumbledore said, Gryffindor is also an excellent college in Hogwarts. Gryffindor has also produced many great people. What you say is a bit arbitrary. Erwin waved his hand. I admit that you are right, Professor, but one thing you have to admit is that Harry Potter's taste in choosing friends is really not very good. Let's just say that Ron next to him is really worthless. It's not worth it. There is an old saying in Dacia for this kind of friend. Learning requires an environment. Harry can't learn much by following Ron. Give me the permission to apparate. I will invite you when the self-study starts next week. When Harry comes to Slytherin's study room, I will teach him personally. This is my bargaining chip. Dumbledore was silent. Harry won't agree to that. Erwin stood up. This has nothing to do with me. Harry Potter doesn't want to make progress. That's his business. I've already told you the price. Professor, you think about it yourself. I remembered that I have something to do in the afternoon. Then, Professor, I'll leave first. Leave Dumbledore's office. Erwin smiled. What would happen if this savior became a savior who was close to Slytherin? It would definitely be fun. Thinking about it, Erwin is still looking forward to it. Chapter 88. Being a nanny, Erwin really wasn't interested. But if you can find some fun for yourself while being a nanny, it's not that Erwin can't accept it. The main thing is, our dear savior, if used properly, it can be regarded as an excellent piece of protective equipment. If the savior is forced to do something, Dumbledore will appoint the guarantor if nothing else. Holding the savior hostage is tantamount to holding Dumbledore hostage. Erwin snapped his fingers. From this point of view, this savior does not seem to be so annoying. If used properly, this savior is such a useful tool. Think of this. Erwin suddenly felt that he had been a little hasty. He should have directly agreed to Dumbledore's request. I don't know if Old Dangtu dares to give him the authority to use apparition. Although, it seems that this is a magic permission. But in fact, it's really not that simple. Apart from the past principals, there are only 4 giants who can use apparition in Hogwarts. Even professors like Snape do not have the authority to use apparition in Hogwarts. Once granted permission to disapparate in Hogwarts, that means that Hogwarts is already defenseless against this person. Erwin felt a little regretful. His request was indeed somewhat unreasonable. Erwin didn't think Dumbledore could trust him to this extent. This won't shut out the savior card you got, right? Erwin has already begun to think about what seemingly reasonable reason he should use to get this scapegoat back. Just then, Erwin suddenly felt that some kind of restriction in his body was suddenly broken. Erwin froze on the spot. This is? Erwin snapped his fingers, and the next moment, Erwin's body turned into a vortex. The next moment, Erwin appeared in his bedroom. Erwin was confused. Damn it. Did Lao Deng really give him the authority to apparate? Is it because you trust yourself? It doesn't make sense. There was only one person Dumbledore could truly trust. That's Professor McGonagall. No, to be precise, it is not certain whether Dumbledore can completely trust Professor McGonagall. A person like Dumbledore would only believe in himself completely. The same goes for Erwin. As a result, Erwin started to think about what to do next. Dumbledore just gave him the power to disapparate? Erwin raised the corners of his mouth. It seems that there are some things that I didn't think in the right way at the beginning. Shaking his head, Erwin was too lazy to continue thinking. Being able to apparate at Hogwarts is a good thing. At least Erwin can leave Hogwarts now. It's boring to stay in school all the time. The most important thing is that the matters in Diagon Alley are left to old Tom, and Erwin always feels a little uneasy. Although Hagrid has become a supplier, the business of magical animal materials will affect the interests of pureblood families. Although, Erwin asked old Tom to bring many people and all sentient beings there. But after all, it is his first business in the magical world. There is always some worry. But there is no rush. We'll have to wait until Dumbledore leaves Hogwarts. Otherwise, what if old Bai Ding gives him permission to take it away? Erwin looked at the time. It was still quite early, and there was still time to take a nap. There was nothing else to do anyway. While Erwin was catching up on his sleep, Harry Potter came to Dumbledore's office. Before Harry Potter knocked on the door will open automatically. Dumbledore sat on the stage. Wearing a somewhat funny hat, he looked at Harry over his glasses. With a smile on his face, "Harry, you're here. Come in." Harry Potter walked into the office. Looking around curiously, Dumbledore waved his hand. "Sit down, Harry. Wait until I finish writing this." Harry Potter nodded and sat down obediently. In the portrait, Principal Black looked at Harry Potter with a cowardly look. I couldn't help but shake my head. Compared to Erwin, it's much worse. Is this really the so-called savior? Didn't Dumbledore encounter an electronic scam? Oh, and that unfortunate Voldemort. One of the best Slytherins he had ever met Erwin had ever been. Dumbledore wrote and drew for a long time, then put down the pen. "Harry, how is life at Hogwarts?" Harry Potter himself is in a fugue. He was shocked when he heard Dumbledore's words. "Stand up quickly." "Huh. Oh good. Professor, I have never felt so good." Dumbledore pressed his hand. "Don't be so nervous, Harry. I'm just chatting with you, and you know that. When you get older, you like to talk to people. Do you want a piece of candy?" Harry Potter quickly took it. "Thank you, Professor." Dumbledore smiled. Sure enough, Harry Potter is much cuter than Erwin. Candy cannot be shared with others. It will be very uncomfortable. Fortunately, Harry Potter satisfies his desire to share. This made Oldby feel very good. Dumbledore watched as Harry Potter put the candy into his mouth. He smiled and asked, "How is it? Do you feel that your mood has calmed down a lot?" Harry Potter nodded. Dumbledore said, "Harry, what do you think of Erwin?" Harry Potter was stunned for a moment. He didn't know why Dumbledore suddenly asked him this question. But Harry Potter still said honestly, "Erwin, he is very powerful. It seems that everyone likes him, professors, or other classmates, seniors, they will praise him when they mention Erwin. In class he always answers all the questions, and nothing seems to be difficult for him." Dumbledore nodded. "Yes, Erwin is indeed very powerful. I feel the same as you on this point. To be honest, even I have never seen a student who is better than him, especially a first-year freshman." Harry Potter scratched his head. "So, did you call him here just to make him realize the difference between the two people?" "Thank you. He has seen it." Harry Potter looked a little depressed. A glint flashed in Dumbledore's eyes. "What's wrong, Harry? You seem a little distressed." Harry Potter shook his head and said nothing. Dumbledore said, "It's okay, kid. Little wizards of your age will always worry about gains and losses. This is not something to be ashamed of." Harry Potter hesitated and said, "I just feel that I have let everyone down. They all say that I am the savior. However, I don't find that I have any advantages. I am not as good as Erwin, no matter what in some way. Maybe he is the savior, and I am a fake." Chapter 89. Dumbledore said, "Child, your savior is not because of what others say, but because of what you have actually done. You defeated Voldemort, and you ended the darkness in the wizarding world. To everyone, you are savior." Harry Potter said, "Really? But why can't I know anything? But there is nothing that Erwin can't do. Professor, I will really feel frustrated." Dumbledore said, "If I were the same age as you, I would also feel frustrated when facing Erwin. Harry, I hope you can understand the truth. No one is born excellent, including Erwin. Inside." Harry Potter said, "Then Professor, how can you become as knowledgeable and as powerful as Erwin?" The corners of Dumbledore's mouth rose. Look, isn't this a trap? He really likes children this age." On this point, Dumbledore and Erwin have the same view. Of course, there are differences between them. For example, at this time, in comparison, Dumbledore felt that Erwin was so annoying. Dumbledore said, "How do you become like Erwin? Then you need to work hard and teach others. When you don't know, Erwin will go to his friends to study together, and he will also find professors to seek help. Help. So, if you want to get better, you need to work harder. Of course, just trying hard is useless. You also need to communicate with other people. It is best to find a peer and talk to him. Study together. This is the most efficient way to learn. Harry Potter was lost in thought. Dumbledore saw that the time was almost here. He said, "Harry, do you know about self-study?" Harry Potter nodded. Yes. It was Erwin who suggested it. Many seniors and classmates were very dissatisfied at that time. But these days, Ravenclaw and Slytherin are looking forward to the arrival of self-study. Dumbledore said. Then do you know why they expect it? Harry Potter shook his head. Dumbledore said, that's because they can have more time to study. Especially during self-study, they can communicate with each other. Their grades will improve very quickly. Harry Potter's eyes lit up. Then I can also study with Ron. Dumbledore shook his head. Although it is possible, Harry, I suggest you study with Erwin in Slytherin's study room, because you and I both know that Erwin is the best in your class. Moreover, Erwin is very knowledgeable about helping his classmates. I heard that Draco Malfoy successfully learned the basic transfiguration with Erwin's help. Harry Potter thought of when he was in the transfiguration classroom. Malfoy's mocking eyes and proud expression. I couldn't help but clenched my fists. But, Erwin, will he let me study with him? And Slytherin and Gryffindor. Harry Potter's next words remained unspoken. But Olby knew what Harry Potter meant. Olby was silent for a while and said, let me go and talk to Erwin for you. If it is beneficial to your study, I don't think Erwin will refuse me. Harry Potter was immediately moved. Is it really okay, Professor? Dumbledore smiled and said, don't worry. In fact, I have a pretty good relationship with Erwin. You don't know that I took him to Diagon Alley when he enrolled in school, Harry Potter said. Thank you very much, Professor. Dumbledore said, but Harry, I'm going to help you tell Erwin that you can't back down. You have to work hard to become better. I have a hunch that you will be the glory of Gryffindor. Harry Potter heard this. Suddenly, I felt a fire burning in my heart. If only Erwin were here. I will definitely take out my notebook and write it all down. Colorful. So colorful. This Dumbledore is truly a master of brainwashing. Take a look at these words. Simply art. First, Harry Potter was guided to bring the topic to Erwin. Let Harry Potter think of Erwin's excellence, arousing envy in Harry Potter's heart. Then tell Harry Potter the importance of hard work. Inspire Harry Potter to work hard. After that, he proposed to find Erwin and let Harry Potter study with Erwin. Gain the gratitude of Harry Potter. Finally, consider Harry Potter's soft-eared, indecisive character, blocking Harry Potter's escape route if he backed down due to Ron's words. Another bowl of chicken blood. What the hell? Step by step. Simply art. If nothing else, Erwin would be impressed if he heard this. Harry Potter left Dumbledore's office in a state of excitement. When walking out of the office, Harry Potter's face was red. Excited. Don't think wrongly. If you want to be crooked, quickly face the wall. On the wall. Phineas said, Dumbledore, for so many years, you are still relying on this old trick to win people's hearts. Even if he is a little wizard. Dumbledore leaned back in his chair. I don't deny this. However, compared to Erwin, I think I'm still a little worse. You should also go out for a walk when you find time. Go to the Slytherin Lounge and see what Slytherin is like now. I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. Phineas snorted coldly. Is this the person you chose? To be honest, he is really not as good as Erwin. There is so much difference. I don't know what you value in him. Dumbledore said nothing. What do you value? Value Harry Potter as one of the Horcruxes. Otherwise, what can I see? Are you attracted by Harry Potter who is indecisive? Are you attracted by Harry Potter who is poor at studying and doesn't work hard? Dumbledore didn't speak. Phineas was bored too. The figure moved. Disappear into the frame. It didn't take long. Phineas came to the picture frame above the fireplace in the Slytherin common room. As for the original owner of this picture frame, at this time, he was shivering and huddled aside. Phineas snorted coldly. Let me tell you, you have to be like me. If I don't beat you, you won't know why I became the principal of Hogwarts. The original owner of the picture frame did not dare to speak at all. I almost cried out loud. Phineas glanced around the young wizards in the common room. At this time, they were gathering in small groups to discuss study matters. Phineas was a little surprised. If it weren't for this gloomy and dark environment, he thought he was in the Ravenclaw lounge. This weird atmosphere. Very different from when he was in school, that Malfoy boy over there. Malfoy's platinum blonde hair color is very conspicuous. So Phineas saw it at a glance. Malfoy was startled. Turn around and look. Who are you? Phineas said, You ignorant boy, you don't even know me. Tell me, where is Erwin? Chapter 90. Phineas came to see Erwin, so he didn't take other people seriously. Just ask where Erwin is, and that's it. If Erwin was in the bedroom, he planned to ask the Malfoy boy to take him there. However, something happened that Phineas didn't expect. The wand suddenly appeared in Malfoy's hand, pointing to the portrait on the wall. Who are you, and why are you looking for our prefect? The next moment, the other little wizards also noticed the movement. They all took out their wands and pointed them at Phineas on the wall. Phineas almost laughed angrily. He was actually pointed at by a Slytherin student with a wand one day, or pointing to his portrait. This is nothing. You know, when he was alive, he was called the glory of Slytherin. After all, he was the first head of Slytherin ever to graduate. This aspect of the card was really carefully controlled. However, at this time, the card was being pointed at by a Slytherin student. It's simply outrageous. He said at the beginning that more portraits should be hung in the Slytherin lounge. At least let the Slytherin students remember him. It's okay now, it took too long. None of the Slytherin students recognized him. Although he was angry, Phineas felt more relieved. He also understood why Dumbledore asked him to come to Slytherin to visit. Slytherin is really different now, and this change was all brought about by Erwin. At this moment of tension, a lazy voice came. Erwin yawned and came down the stairs. What are you making a fuss about? All the little wizards turned to look over. Erwin looked in the direction where their wands were pointing. He was stunned for a moment. Hey, Principal Phineas? Why are you here? Why don't you put your wands away quickly and let you read more books? You have to go and herd pigs. Haven't you read the history of Hogwarts? Haven't you seen the image of Principal Phineas in the book? A group of young wizards heard this. Some people who have read the book vaguely remember it. It seems that this is really their principal, the original glory of Slytherin. The only Slytherin-educated Hogwarts headmaster. All the little wizards quickly put away their wands. Erwin came down the stairs, bowing slightly. Sorry, Principal Phineas. They are ignorant and offended you. Phineas waved his hand. Forget it. After all, my era is too long ago. It's normal for them not to remember me. However, you should teach them more basic knowledge. You are their prefect. Erwin said. Okay, Principal. You still haven't apologized to the principal. Who taught you to point your wand at our glorious principal of Slytherin? And, with your level, how could you still want to rely on it? Did your wand hurt the portrait? You don't have any brains. Phineas' face darkened. Co-author, this Erwin taught the little snake a lesson because they used the wrong method to deal with him? Is this still a person? A small snake quickly apologized. I'm sorry. Principal Phineas. Phineas waved his hand. Forget it. Erwin, find a photo frame and let's go to your dormitory to talk. Erwin nodded and glanced around. The photo frames touched by Erwin's gaze were filled with nervousness. Erwin thought for a while. Principal, wait a minute. I'll go out and find one for you. After all, the people in Slytherin are all our former seniors. Moving is really troublesome. With that, Erwin left the common room. Came to a picture frame. Look at the small corner mark below. Very good, a former Gryffindor student. Erwin said. Senior, can you move? The man in the portrait was shocked. What words are these? Just ask him to move when he comes up? Erwin doesn't talk nonsense either. He took out a knife directly. Senior, are you going to move on your own? Or should I destroy your home and then find a new one? The face of the former Gryffindor senior in the portrait changed instantly. Evil Slytherin. Sure enough, you are evil to your core. After he finished speaking, he didn't wait for Erwin to have an attack. Turn around and run. In a blink of an eye, he jumped into the photo frame next door. Then he ran towards another photo frame without stopping. The speed is so fast. Erwin returned to the common room carrying the empty picture frame. Okay, Principal. This one is a bit small. Please make use of it first. Phineas nodded. He glanced at the name under the photo frame. More satisfied. You did great. Subsequently, a direct step. The next moment, it appeared in the photo frame in front of Erwin. Erwin watched this scene with interest. What is the principle of this? Phineas saw Erwin's confusion. Explained. Don't think about useless things. Portraits are different from photos. Photos use developing potions, and some portraits that can move freely have extracted part of the power of the soul. Don't use useless brains. Living people extracting the power of your soul will affect your own reason and wisdom. Erwin was stunned. Isn't this a different kind of Horcrux? It doesn't have the effect of a Horcrux, but the principles are somewhat similar. As for what Phineas said, it will affect his own reason and wisdom. Erwin fully understands this. Just look at Voldemort. In the original book, Voldemort was a brilliant, smart, and outstanding person when he was a middle school student. But after taking away the Horcrux, his IQ was no longer online, and he was even irritable, like a fool. However, this portrait is somewhat interesting. Erwin felt that he could study it if he had the opportunity, and he might gain something unexpected. This is Erwin's sixth sense, and he still believes in his sixth sense. I always feel that this thing might be useful one day. Erwin picked up the frame. You should continue to do your work. Read more and play less. I have told you so many times. After teaching the little snakes a lesson, Erwin carried the picture frame upstairs. All the little snakes looked at each other. Look at the books on the table. Everyone smiled bitterly. They worked really hard. Erwin returned to his room holding the picture frame. Placed the frame on the table in front of the window. Phineas looked out of the window. He sighed. I haven't been here for many years. I used to live on this floor, and it was the only place where I could see the sun in the Slytherin lounge. I really miss it. Erwin said, If you like it, I will hang the frame here later. If you are fine, you can come and take a look. Phineas looked at Erwin. You boy, do you want to ask me something? You are so attentive. Erwin smiled and said, I still let you see through it. Actually, I want to know what Slytherin's prefect can gain. Professor Snape also told me that if I become a hidden prefect, you will get benefits that I can't imagine. Chapter 91. Phineas was silent for a moment. Actually, I don't know either. Erwin was shocked. What did he hear? What did this guy say just now? He doesn't know? Phineas said, Actually, this should be regarded as an ancient legend of Slytherin. I wonder if you have heard of it. There is a legend in Hogwarts in the inheritance left by the four giants. Erwin nodded. I read it in a book. It is said that after the establishment of Hogwarts, the four giants each left their own real inheritance. The book seems to have written the inheritance that is now exposed. It's Slytherin's Chamber of Secrets. Someone died there. It's called a taboo. Phineas nodded. I have heard other portraits say this, but what if I tell you that the Chamber of Secrets is not the true heritage of Slytherin? Erwin was surprised. Isn't it the inheritance of Slytherin? Phineas said, According to legend, the strength of the four giants in their time was only average at the beginning, but later on, they got something from nowhere. No one knew what it was, and that was it. Something that made them the strongest people of that era and established Hogwarts. And there are rumors that they left this true inheritance in Hogwarts. The rules of hidden prefects were set up by Slytherin himself after it comes out. Every headmaster of Slytherin will spread the word of mouth that as long as you can get through the challenge of the hidden prefect, you will get the true inheritance of Slytherin. Erwin wondered. If that's the case, what about the inheritance of other colleges? They don't have the challenge of hidden prefects. Phineas shook his head. Then I don't know. How can the inheritance left by the four giants be obtained so easily? However, I have heard someone say a very interesting thing. That is, Dumbledore Leto actually received the complete Gryffindor inheritance, but I don't know if it's true or not. After all, Dumbledore himself didn't reveal it. Erwin nodded. That's it. Thank you, Principal. Phineas waved his hand. No need to thank me. It's not a big deal in itself. Besides, I heard other portraits say that you have already beaten the fifth-year hidden prefect, and there are only two people left in front of you. You are the one who has the most hope of truly knowing the truth about the hidden prefects challenge. If one day you find out everything, tell me. I'm actually very curious too. Erwin smiled and said, Don't worry, Principal. I can do it. Phineas said, Okay, I just came to see you. While I still have time, why not let me see your spell level? Although the muggle weapon you used is very lethal big, but you are a wizard after all. Erwin's eyes lit up. Judging from the meaning of these words, this person seems to want to give him some guidance. This is the principal of Hogwarts. He can become the principal of Hogwarts as a Slytherin graduate. And if you think about it, when Phineas was in office, it seemed that Hogwarts was in a turbulent era. One can imagine how much dark magic our most disliked principal in history must master. No. Why did you subconsciously think of black magic? How could a white wizard like him learn this kind of thing? Sure enough, he had been hanging out with the evil Slytherin for a long time, and he had become tainted with evil. Who would remember that Erwin was an honest man at heart? Sin. Erwin said, Principal Phineas, can you teach me some spells? Phineas said, Magic spells? Can't the magic spells you are learning now satisfy you? Erwin said, You also know that the enemies I face are very strong, and they really want my life. So I need some ability to protect myself. preferably one with some lethality. Spell. Phineas understood. You want to learn dark magic? Erwin touched his nose. Principal, I think spells should not be divided into black and white. They are just a means to fight against the enemy. Just like weapons in the Muggle world, a long sword, can you say it is black or white? Is it evil to deprive a person of his life? So, in my opinion, a curse is a kind of weapon. It does not distinguish between good and evil. It just depends on the person who uses it. Phineas heard this. A smile appeared on his face. Very good. I saw you right. You are really the most qualified Slytherin. It's a pity that when I was in office, there was no little wizard like you. Otherwise, I think if you said such a thing at that time, if I say a few words, my proposal will definitely be agreed to by others. Erwin wondered. Proposal? What proposal? Phineas waved his hand. It's nothing. It's just a small matter. It's just that I wanted to change the defense against the dark arts class to a dark arts class, but the defensive one was still inferior after all. Erwin was shocked. I'll call the principal. He really has great ideas. This guy really shouldn't be the headmaster at Hogwarts. He should be the headmaster at Durmstrang. Phineas said, at that time, I felt that the teaching at Hogwarts was too gentle. It only taught the defense of dark magic. How could anyone think about defense before facing the enemy? Unfortunately, my proposal later, it's such a shame that we didn't get approval. The corners of Erwin's mouth twitched slightly. Sure enough, it is not without reason that this principal is called the most extreme by everyone. Durmstrang is the best school for this guy. That place advocates black magic. However, a school that advocates dark magic actually feels that the dark magic experiments conducted by our great Grindelwald are too dangerous. One can imagine how outrageous our great Grindelwald is. Phineas's face was filled with sadness, as if he was regretting those people who didn't know what they were doing. Okay, let's not talk about this anymore. Since you want to learn black magic, let me see how far you have mastered black magic. Do you know any black magic? Erwin nodded. I'm really good at this. Just wait for me. Then Erwin snapped his fingers. The next moment he appeared on the shore of the Black Lake. Not daring to waste time, he fished a big fish directly from the Black Lake. Then go back to your bedroom again. Place the large fish on the ground aside. Close the curtains mysteriously. Draw your wand. Eat the big melon. Even in his room, Erwin was not afraid of being discovered. The next moment, a ray of purple light flew towards the fish on the ground. In fact, Erwin didn't know why, but his death curse now turned purple. It was as if all his spells had turned into purple light. Phineas was shocked. Did you start from such a high level? Chapter 92. Phineas didn't even think of that. Erwin came up with a death curse. Yes, he is already a portrait, but he is also the headmaster of Hogwarts. Can you please respect him? Are you really not going to carry anyone behind your back? Erwin scratched his head. What a shame, Principal. I don't master the spell well. Phineas waved his hand. No, you have mastered it very well. Believe me, many dark wizards are not as skilled as you in using the death curse. Erwin was embarrassed. Look, how can this be exaggerated? His life-killing curse is only level 3. There is still 2 levels of room for improvement. Phineas looked at Erwin and sighed. Really, if he didn't really admire Erwin so much, and what Erwin just said really touched him, he should consider now how best to send Erwin to Azkaban. Phineas said, have you ever used the death curse on anyone else? Erwin said, very few. You also know that this unforgivable curse is a prison-penetrating curse and cannot be used easily. Phineas was shocked. He actually knew it? How surprising. Phineas said, you are very proficient in using spells, and your techniques are also very good, but your usage skills are still a little worse. In fact, you use too much magic. Erwin wondered, using too much magic power? Phineas nodded. Take the death curse you used as an example. You should be very clear about the characteristics of the death curse. If you use it, you will die. Most of the time, you can't defend it. Since you have this characteristic, you don't have it at all. It is necessary to use so much magic power. You must know that when wizards are fighting, every bit of magic power is precious. Maybe your failure will be just because of the lack of such a bit of magic power. Erwin nodded. For the next hour, Phineas also told Erwin a lot of tips on how to use magic spells. Erwin was very happy with these little tricks. This is the experience of a good dark wizard for many years. This is a teacher that no amount of money can find. Phineas said, okay, you should digest what I said today. I will come over when I have time. You can ask me if you have any questions then. Erwin stood up. Bend down. Thank you, Principal. Phineas smiled. I like you very much. You are a real Slytherin. I have heard everything you are doing now. Slytherin has changed, so we need a leader to restore Slytherin to its original state. He is the most suitable candidate. I look forward to seeing Slytherin become what I was back then one day. Above the portrait, return to blankness. Phineas has left. Like he said, he is different. He is different from other portraits. He can come and leave whenever he wants. And Erwin also gained another personal trainer of his. Ding. Congratulations to the host for receiving Phineas's teachings. The temporary card pool is now open, and the exclusive card pool for attack spells. 30 times of lottery draws are given. This lottery card pool is a limited time reward card pool, and gold will be guaranteed in the end. Item. The card pool lasts for 1 hour. The host please use it as soon as possible. Erwin's eyes instantly lit up. It's coming, it's coming, it's coming. It comes with a spell. Sure enough, what is missing is what is coming. And it's a guaranteed withdrawal. This system is simply hemorrhaging money. Erwin directly opened the lottery interface. A big wave of his hand. Come on, let me smoke it. With a golden guarantee, what should Erwin be afraid of? That's it. No matter what happens, there is still a golden guarantee. Ding. The 10 consecutive draws are over. Congratulations on getting the reward. Thunderbolt Explosion X2. The ground is frozen and the weather is cold X1. Upside Down Golden Clock X4. Magic Proficiency X300. Erwin looked at the reward. It seems good. Thunderbolt Explosion can cause the cursed object to explode violently. It's quite powerful. However, this thing has a drawback. That is, after it hits an object, it will bounce back aimlessly. You may end up hurting yourself, just like in the original book. Miss Noe all made a thunderbolt explosion and broke Harry's wand. As for the freezing ground and the cold weather, this thing only appeared once in the original novel. Also from Miss Know-It-All. They were used to deal with the group of Cornish elves created by that idiot Lockhart. As for the golden bell at the end, it's a coincidence. This thing was also created by Snape. Erwin continues to draw. Ding. The 10 consecutive draws are over and rewards will be distributed. Erwin's eyes lit up, and he seemed to see a purple light. Erwin quickly looked through the records. Broken to pieces X2. Quick confinement X1. Thousands of bullets fired simultaneously X3. Magic Proficiency X300. Congratulations on receiving the purple reward. The Fierce Fire Gift Pack. Contains Fire Shield Protection. Vulcan clears the way. Work hard, young man. You will be the next Grindelwald. Erwin was shocked and stood up from the stool. His eyes were fixed on the purple reward on the virtual light screen. Great Fire Gift Package. Fire Shield to protect your body. Vulcan clears the way. Erwin will never forget the blue flame in Grindelwald's hand, and the scene in the movie where the blue flame bone fights the red flame phoenix. Just 2 words, shocking. Compared with the Lihua gift pack, other spells. Is that a spell? It was obviously just a toy for children to play with. In Erwin's heart, Erwin likes Fierce Fire even more than the Unforgivable Curse. Nothing but coolness. Compared with something like Lihua, other spells should really be avoided. He was afraid that Lihua would misunderstand. After Erwin drew Severe Fire, the whole person is in a state of excitement. I like it so much. I really like it so much. He really wanted to burn something. Shaking his head, Erwin quickly shook the thought out of his mind. But don't mess around. If this were to set Hogwarts on fire, he had to go to Azkaban that night. Maybe live next door to Sirius. Be calm and don't be reckless. This is Hogwarts, and Dumbledore is in charge. The insignificant growth must not be wasted. But this is Fierce Fire. Erwin was grinning from ear to ear. To be fair, I won't give you any money even for the last 10 draws. Just rely on this Fierce Fire and a guaranteed golden reward. Erwin felt that it was well worth the money. What kind of bicycle is this? Erwin quickly withdrew the reward directly. It seemed as if he was afraid that the fire gift package given to him by the system would be blackened in the next second. The system couldn't help but roll its eyes. This little family looks rotten. A host who has never seen the world. After Erwin withdrew the reward, then I felt relieved. He casually started the last 10 consecutive draws. Chapter 93. Ding. The 10 consecutive draws are over and rewards will be distributed. Magic Proficiency X900. Erwin was shocked. Damn it. I'm kidding. You really don't give me anything. You come up with a magic proficiency of 900. In addition to the guaranteed golden reward for co-authoring, is he just a bald guy? Ding. The golden guaranteed reward has been drawn. Congratulations to the host for receiving the reward. Directional skills. Directional skills. All your single target attacks will become directional skills. Comes with tracking guidance. Erwin frowned. Directional skills? Tracking guidance? What use does this have for magic? But suddenly, Erwin was stunned. No, this thing seems to be more useful than he imagined. As everyone knows, gnawing a giant melon cannot be defended with magic spells. If you want to stop chewing the big melon, there are only a few known ways. The first one is the magic spell Lily used. The life-killing curse can be directly reflected. One life is exchanged for another. That is the passive resistance spell. This thing is a little unreasonable. In the original work, there were only 2 people who used this thing. One is Lily Potter. She used this spell to protect Harry Potter. Later, when Harry Potter was in the Forbidden Forest, he made up his mind to devote his life to getting rid of the Horcrux. He wanted to protect all the teachers and students at Hogwarts. At this moment, the passive resistance spell was transferred. After that, Voldemort's spell failed on these teachers and students. Erwin called this thing plot killing because it was so unreasonable. The second method is to use twin wands. Refer to the Triwizard Tournament when Harry Potter used Expelliarmus to attack waves. One of the characteristics of 2 twin wands is that they will not kill each other. If one party casts the death curse, the other party can use other spells to resist it. A very special flashback spell will be formed. The third way is to turn yourself into a Horcrux. This will make you immune to the life-killing curse, and if one dies, the other one will be there, filled out with life. Similar to the Horcrux, the Phoenix can forcefully take the life-killing curse and then directly pass into Nirvana. This is outrageous. According to this idea, the Phoenix may be a good shield. There is also a way to fix the bug in the original work. That's the Elder Wand. When someone uses the Elder Wand to release the death curse to attack the identified owner of the Elder Wand, the killing curse won't kill you. Coincidentally, it's Harry Potter who is stuck with this bug. As for the unlucky guy, there is no doubt that it is our noseless Mr. Riddle. Last resort. It is also the life-saving method used by most people in the wizarding world when facing the death curse. Although the death curse will not be blocked by magic spells, it will be blocked by solid objects. Things like walls, pillars, shields, etc. God knows, our Harry Potter used this method to avoid Voldemort's death curse many times. Poor Voldemort. However, Erwin obtained this golden talent. But you can avoid this method cleverly. As long as the target is locked, it can be guided accurately. In other words, be good, Mom. My bullets can turn. This is simply a magical skill. If this thing were placed in Voldemort's hands, Voldemort can't point his finger at the sky. Does he want the sky to be no longer able to cover his eyes? Of course, it seems to be similar to Erwin. At this moment, Erwin's eyes lit up. He thought of a bright point. System. Does this directional skill only deal with magic spells? Ding. Host. Please figure it out for yourself. Erwin's eyes brightened. The system is not determined, that is to say, his idea is really possible. What the system says is that all single targets are attacked. That's what it says. Erwin turned his palms. A pistol appeared in Erwin's hand. Then Erwin pulled the trigger directly. The next moment, the bullet hit the wall directly to Erwin's right. Erwin was shocked. It's feasible. It's actually feasible. He actually learned the long-lost art of turning bullets. This is a real bullet turn. Erwin C***K began to tremble with excitement. This is simply a magical skill. This time, he really can stop being a human being. Ding. The lottery is over, and the limited-time card pool is closed. Card pool notice, there will be a limited-time holiday card pool on Christmas. Hosts, please accumulate reputation points. The holiday card pool is great value for money. Erwin was stunned for a moment. Holiday card pool? Come to think of it, it seems like it's really almost Christmas. Next Wednesday is Halloween, and in a little more than a month it will be Christmas. Looking at his remaining 5,000 reputation points, Erwin himself was planning to smoke them all. But if there is a holiday card pool, Erwin felt that he could accumulate more money. Save more when the time comes and have fun smoking. Erwin called up the system panel. Magic Mastery, Flying Curse, Level 3, Floating Curse, Level 3, Iron Armor Curse, Level 3, Expelliarmus, Level 3, Shadowless Edge, Level 3, Acclemency, Level 3, Summon the Gods and Guards, Level 3, Thunderbolt Explosion, Level 1, Freezing Ground, Level 1, Upside Down Golden Bell, Level 1, Shatter to Pieces, Level 1, Quick Confinement, Level 1, 10,000 Bomb Salvo, Level 1, Fire Shield, Level 1, Vulcan Clears the Way, Level 1, Apparition Purple Lotus Customized Version. Level 3, Death Curse, Level 3, Soul Seizing Curse, Level 4, Cruciatus Curse, Level 4. Magic Proficiency, 2,900. He learned several more spells, and they are all first class. But his current proficiency is only enough to upgrade 2 magic spells to Level 3. The Hidden Prefects Challenge is the most important thing Erwin faces now. The true heritage of Slytherin. Erwin was also very curious. Therefore, Erwin has to think carefully about where to use this spell proficiency. In addition to adding points, Erwin can also practice by himself. However, the first level spell may fail to be released. Erwin thought it would be better to add them all to level 2 first. At least it can be released 100% successfully, and if you practice again, your proficiency will increase faster. Then, Erwin started adding points. It took 800 magic proficiency. Erwin added the 2 skills he had just mastered, including Fire Shield and Vulcan Clearance, to level 2. Erwin nodded with satisfaction. There are still 2001 magic proficiency left. Find a place to practice the spell first, and then decide which one to add it to. Suppressing his urge to directly clear the way for Fire Shield and Vulcan to level 3, Erwin began to think about where to go to practice magic spells. The most suitable place, the Room of Requirement. Where does this place come from? Erwin recalled. On the 8th floor of Hogwarts Castle, opposite the tapestry where the troll beat Barnabas silly. Think of the place you need, then walk past that wall 3 times, and the Room of Requirement will appear. Yes, there's nothing wrong with it. Let's go. Chapter 94. Erwin directly apparat to the corridor on the 8th floor. Not to mention, it is so comfortable after having the authority to apparate. It feels like you don't have to walk anywhere, which is really comfortable. Erwin finally realized Dumbledore's happiness. Come as soon as you say, leave as soon as you say. Erwin searched the corridor for the tapestry of the troll beating Barnabas silly. Such a unique tapestry. Still easy to find. At least even if it's as outrageous as Hogwarts, there are rarely such abstract things. It didn't take long for Erwin to find the tapestry. Stand in front of the tapestry. Erwin pouted. So ugly. I don't know where someone found such an ugly thing. In short, Erwin really doesn't know where to complain about Hogwarts. No, the aesthetics of everyone in the wizarding world. So strange. Erwin thought about his needs. Think silently in your heart. I need a room to practice black magic, the kind that can withstand the fire god's way. Erwin then walked back and forth in front of that wall 3 times. Keep your own needs in mind. After 3 times, Erwin stopped, looking at the unruffled wall. Erwin scratched his head. No? Why? Did you look in the wrong place? Or is it that what you did was wrong? Erwin tried hard to recall the records in the original book. There seems to be nothing wrong. Although it has been a long time since I read the original work, Erwin had forgotten many details, but for a place like the Room of Requirement, Erwin will never forget. Erwin groped his chin. Is it possible that my requirements are a bit too high? Can't get enough of the Room of Requirement? By the way, that must be the case. The magic spell of Vulcan Kaido uses strong fire. Fierce fire can burn Horcruxes. Everything is incombustible. No matter how magical the Room of Requirement is, it should not be able to stop fierce fire. Moreover, he seems to have gone a bit too far. As a young wizard, how could he want a room for practicing black magic? This itself is wrong. This is Hogwarts. Erwin summarized his experience. Ahem. I want a room to practice magic spells. Subsequently, the same process is repeated. After Erwin wandered around for 3 times, on the wall, a smooth door suddenly appeared. Erwin's eyes lit up. It was done. Subsequently, Erwin opened the door and walked in. The moment Erwin entered the room, wall restoration. No one can tell what happened here. End of corridor. Our dear Professor Bat emerges from the shadows. There was some confusion on his face. How did he know about the existence of the Room of Requirement? Did Dumbledore tell him? Snape shook his head. Didn't think much about it. Continue patrolling the corridors. After Erwin enters the Room of Requirement, start looking at everything around you. Needless to say, it's pretty good. There were 2 tin men standing on the ground. There are benches nearby for resting. Erwin didn't know what the Room of Requirement was about. Anyway, it's quite amazing. There are windows on both sides. This overturned the speculation that Erwin had always thought that the Room of Requirement was inside the walls of Hogwarts in his previous life. Now it seems that this is more similar to Platform 9 3/4, where space is folded. Or is it an inner world? Erwin felt that he should study it when he had time. This is not the same as a Muggle banishing spell. Just give an example. Take our lovely Platinum family for example. They are nobles in the magical world, but their castle and manor are in the Muggle world. It's just that the Muggle expelling curse has been released, so it will be subconsciously ignored. However, he himself exists there. If it rains in the Muggle world, and even if they have a Muggle expelling curse, it will still rain on the manor. This is because they are in the same space. But platform 9 3/4 and the room of requirement are different. For example, when Erwin entered school, before he entered the platform where the Hogwarts Express was located, the Muggle platform was sunny and sunny. However, it was raining lightly inside platform 9 3/4. This means that they are no longer in the same space. This technology interested Erwin very much. At least as far as Erwin knows, only Hogwarts currently controls this technology. Those 28 pureblood tribes that have been passed down for a long time do not know this, and Erwin does not know about it from other countries. Anyway, German Shepherd Strong won't, but Dacia should. After all, every legend can find some basis for reality. A country like Dacia, which has a long history and has many myths, is destined to have unknown abilities. If only Erwin could master this ability, wouldn't that create a truly safe place? This is worth doing, but these are still too far away now. Erwin just thought about it. It is always good to have a dream. Without dreams, what is the difference between a person and a salted fish? Erwin stretched. Next, it's time to have a big fight. With so many magic spells, Erwin is about to start brushing up on his proficiency. Erwin's backhand aimed at the Tin Man was a thunderbolt explosion. There was a bang. The Tin Man was blown away directly. But the next moment, it was back to its original position. Erwin started his leveling career. At the same time, in Professor Quirrell's office, Professor Quirrell is talking to our Mr. Parasite with a panicked look on his face. Master, it really can't be done. Voldemort's weak voice came. How dare you contradict me? Quirrell, don't forget. Your life is in my hands. Professor Quirrell said, I know, Master, but Erwin really can't do it. Please, Master, can you not look for him? In Erwin, I feel respect again. Please, Owner. Voldemort was also a little confused at this time. In fact, he just mentioned it to Professor Quirrell and wanted to meet Erwin, but it was opposed by Quirrell. For the first time since meeting Quirrell, Quirrell would oppose him. Voldemort said angrily, Quirrell, do you want to die? Professor Quirrell said quickly, No, Master, I don't want to die, but why Erwin? I can find it for you if you need it. I can do everything, as long as you need it. Voldemort could not have imagined that Quirrell, who had always been submissive, would be so stubborn this time. Voldemort was filled with murderous intent, but now he still has to rely on Professor Quirrell, the best tool. Voldemort suppressed his anger. Quirrell, I didn't want to do anything to him. I just wanted to see him. You don't know what Cavendi's name means. I just wanted to meet my old friend. Erwin's grandfather and I were classmates. I just want to meet him. Chapter 95. Professor Quirrell hesitated. Is it really just a meeting? Voldemort was annoyed. I just met him once. You don't have to worry about the rest. I won't hurt him. I can even teach him personally. You don't understand the meaning of the surname Cavendi. You don't know this either. What's behind it? Professor Quirrell said, Master, I can call him over for you. But please, don't hurt him. I feel a long-lost respect from him, even if he is just because of his cultivation and tutoring, but I'm still grateful to him. Voldemort was helpless. What the hell is going on? Erwin didn't have much contact with Quirrell. Why did you instigate rebellion for your loyal servant? How dare you refute what he said? But Voldemort was too lazy to care about this. Cavendi, he was finally going to see Cavendi again. It's a pity that he knew Cavendi's secret too late. When he knew the secret of Cavendi, he wanted to find the Cavendi family. Erwin's parents have left the magical world and have been protected. Even he didn't have a chance to make a move. However, he did not expect that he would actually meet the Cavendi family again. He also saw it when Hogwarts was attacked. In addition to lamenting Dumbledore's power, he also learned that this generation of Cavendi was at Hogwarts. No wonder he thought the name Cavendi was familiar at first, but he didn't think in this direction at the time. It wasn't until the attack on Hogwarts that day that he remembered this thing that had been buried deep in his memory. Professor Quirrell leaves the office. Arrive at the Slytherin common room. Come to the door of the lounge. I happened to meet Malfoy, who had just returned from borrowing books from the library. Don't tell me, our little Malfoy is really working hard right now. Coming from a pure-blood family, Draco attached great importance to Malfoy's honor under the guidance of the old Malfoy. Erwin's words have a motivating effect on ordinary young wizards. It will also slowly produce a brainwashing effect. But those who were most affected by those words were people like Malfoy who came from pureblood families. The 28 pureblood clans are lonely, and many families have even cut off their inheritance. These little guys value honor more, so they will naturally be more easily affected by Erwin's words. After seeing Professor Quirrell, Malfoy frowned, just trying to get away. But suddenly he thought of Erwin's words. A true noble will never show superiority to others or bully others. Real aristocrats have cultivation far beyond ordinary people, and cultivation is the foundation of their nobility. Malfoy came to Professor Quirrell. "Hello, Professor Quirrell, what can I do for you?" Quirrell was stunned for a moment. How many years had he not heard such kind words? Besides Erwin, Malfoy was the only other person who could speak to him in this tone. Professor Quirrell's eyes were slightly moist. The thought of regret once again occurred in my heart. He shouldn't be in cahoots with Voldemort. Malfoy got no response from Professor Quirrell. He looked at Professor Quirrell in confusion. "Professor, are you okay?" Professor Quirrell quickly came to his senses. "I'm fine. I want to find Erwin." "Is he there?" Malfoy said. "I don't know either. The prefect may be resting. Can I call him for you? Why don't you come in and wait a moment?" Professor Quirrell waved his hand. "No, just tell him that I have something to do with him, and I'll just wait for him in the office. If he's not here, you can tell him when he comes back." Malfoy nodded. "Professor, please walk slowly." Professor Quirrell turned and left. Malfoy then walked into the common room with his two lackeys. "Have you noticed?" Professor Quirrell didn't stutter just now. Crabbe said. Malfoy was stunned for a moment. "Don't say it, it's true." "Okay, I'm going to find the prefect. You can read the book first." The two followers nodded. The two of them are also academic scumbags themselves. But these days, under Erwin's high-pressure policy, all the little snakes have transformed into kings. They also started reading books. As a result, they really found fun in the book. The results of the two are also improving rapidly. In fact, Crabbe and Goyle's qualifications are not bad. It's just that the appearance of the two gives people a very silly feeling. But in fact, these two products are really on par. If nothing else, let's just talk about the final battle at Hogwarts. The Harry trio went to the Room of Requirement to solve the last Horcrux, Ravenclaw's diadem, then met the Malfoy trio. Then, the three of them basically fought back and forth. Harry Potter, Dumbledore was forced to cheat. Hermione, a pure academic. Ron, forget it. Let's move on to the next one. However, in this case, the three teams on both sides almost ended in a draw. In the end, Crabbe directly used the fire curse. All ordered for the Room of Requirement. Kenly was stuff be learned casually? So, from this point of view, these two followers may seem stupid, but they are actually quite capable. Under this circumstance, the Malfoy trio actually became the first-year leaders of Slytherin except Erwin. Not to mention others, Erwin was shocked. Not long after, Malfoy came down from the top. Goyle asked, "How is it, Master Malfoy? Have you told the prefects?" Malfoy shook his head. "The prefect is not here. Maybe he went out when we went to the library. I will tell him when he comes back." Crabbe and Goyle nodded. Didn't ask any more questions. Other side. Erwin didn't know yet that he was interested in Voldemort. At this time, the wand was swishing out and casting spells. For efficiency, Erwin added 2 more Tin Woodmen. Practice 4 spells at the same time. It can save a Tin Man the recovery process. The only problem was that Erwin's arm was sore. Waving a wand is also physically demanding. Moreover, the magic power in Erwin's body was also exhausted. The backup energy source is activated directly. Time passed bit by bit. Erwin didn't know how long he had been practicing. Until you hear a crisp beep. Ding. Congratulations, your 10,000 bullet salvo has been upgraded to level 3. Erwin forced himself to sit on the chair. He rubbed his sore arms. I felt the magic in my body. He had almost used up all the magic power in his mana reserve. Now he couldn't even use apparition. Of course, Erwin's gains were also huge. Except for the 2 top-level spells in Grindelwald's gift package, all of his spells are now level 3 or higher. Chapter 96. Erwin opened his panel. There are still 2001 magic proficiency left. Erwin didn't hesitate at all. Directly add Fire Shield Protection and Vulcan to clear the way. Finally, there were 100 left. Erwin was about to close his personal information. Out of the corner of his eye, he suddenly saw the proficiency behind the disarming spell. 9,900/10,000. Isn't this a coincidence? Erwin directly added the remaining 100 proficiency points. After the Soul-Stealing Curse and the Cruciatus Curse, the third level 4 curse appeared. This disarming spell was purely practiced by Erwin himself. After coming to Hogwarts, this curse has been used too many times. Although Erwin's ordinary magic talent is only 6, diligence can make up for his weakness. After using it so many times, Erwin has accumulated a lot of proficiency. However, the talent is still a bit low. Look at the talents on the personal panel that are less than 10. Erwin was becoming more and more of an eyesore. Wait until the Christmas holiday draw and add a lot of points. Otherwise, just how hard these little snakes are working now. Erwin was afraid that he wouldn't be able to win over them. Erwin closed his personal panel. The magic power in the body has recovered a little bit. Erwin stood up, planned to go back and rest. When walking to the door, Erwin stopped. He has an idea. It is known that a strong fire needs something to ignite in order to keep burning. Then the iron sheet should not be considered an ignition object. Just try it out for a while, it should be fine, right? I'm really curious. His magic power has not recovered much now. Either apparate back to the dormitory, or set off a small fire to experience one's hand. Erwin thinks that young people should be fine if they take 2 steps. Life lies in movement. Erwin quickly found a reason for himself. He decided that he would use Vulcan to open the way to experience it. Although my current magic power is definitely not as good as Grindelwald's, I should be fine if I have a little fun. Think of this. Erwin strolled back to a place not far from the Tin Woodman. He coughed lightly. Then he waved the wand in his hand gently. Vulcan clears the way. Let's make a change here. The normal Vulcan to clear the way should be a magic spell to control flames. In the original book, when Dumbledore used the Vulcan to clear the way in the Half-Blood Prince, he first used a magic spell to summon flames. Then the famous scene where Vulcan opens the way. This is changed to a system production, with the release of Fierce Fire. As long as the Vulcan opens the way, it is Li Hua who takes action. The main thing is to reach the point in one step. Of course, the ability to control fire is also there. The next moment, from Erwin's wand, a bird condensed with purple flames flew out from the wand, flying towards the Tin Man in front of him. The moment the purple bird hits the Tin Woodman, the iron sheet is quickly dissolved. Erwin hadn't had time to get excited about using Vulcan to clear the way for the first time, seeing only the next moment. After the iron sheet is burned, the interior is exposed. Erwin's expression changed instantly. Gee, cutting corners. Why is it made of wood inside? The moment the purple flame touches the wood, it is nourished by the fuel. Instantly, the purple flames burned. Just a moment. The Tin Woodman was burned to death. Subsequently, flames fell to the floor. The wooden floor also burst into flames instantly. Erwin murmured to himself, I seem to have gotten into trouble. Erwin wanted to understand this and quickly prepared a remedy. How to extinguish the fierce fire. The curse of standing still is wrong. The curse of standing still cannot extinguish the fierce fire. And even if it can be extinguished, Erwin has never learned it. All curses will end. That's right. All curses will end. Groove. Neither can. Watching the flames grow bigger and bigger, Erwin was a little anxious. What should we do? If this was left alone, Li Hua might have to give Hogwarts all points today. Think for a moment. Erwin snapped his fingers. Yes. Erwin turned around and ran away, and the door to the room of requirement opened. Erwin came into the hallway. Shout, Professor Snape, save me. The next moment, Erwin's voice just fell. A dark shadow came in front of Erwin. Erwin saw this familiar figure in black robes. I breathed a sigh of relief. Sure enough, our dear Professor Snape must be within 3 steps. The moment Snape landed, he pulled out his wand and looked around cautiously. What's going on? Erwin pointed to the room of requirement, which was still open behind him. Snape turned to look. His eyes widened instantly. I saw that in the response room at this time, the purple flames were already burning under the nourishment of the wooden floor. At first glance, it looks like a purple ocean. Snape's wand pointed directly. A stream of water gushes out from above the wand. However, the next moment, the water flow is directly evaporated and turned into steam. Snape's expression changed instantly. Li Hua? Erwin scratched his head in embarrassment. It's quite beautiful, isn't it? Snape really wanted to hang Erwin up and whip him. Snape ducked into the room of requirement. The next moment, the wand touched the ground directly. All curses come to an end. Say the incantation. A golden light curtain suddenly appeared, heading towards the fierce fire cover. Where the light curtain swept away, the flames on the ground gradually subsided. Not long after, the purple flame completely disappeared. Erwin breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, it was extinguished. Otherwise, he would have been in big trouble today. Erwin tiptoed and prepared to leave. Mr. Cavendi, where do you want to go? Erwin's body stiffened suddenly. It's broken, it's over, and the breath of death is coming. Snape had called him by his last name. One can imagine how angry Snape was. Erwin turned his head away with a grimace. What? I think it's getting late. I'm going to go back to bed, dear Professor Snape. Snape's face showed no emotion or anger, but there seemed to be burning flames in his eyes. Cavendi, do you really want to die? Can you master the magic spell of Li Hua? How dare you? How dare you use Li Hua? If I am not here today, do you know what the consequences will be? Li Hua will set the whole Hogwarts on fire. Not only you, but also the other little wizards will die. Even if you escape from the fire, Azkaban will be waiting for you. How dare you use fire in Hogwarts? Snape's voice became a little shrill. It was also the first time for Erwin to see Snape like this. He knew Snape was really angry this time. Erwin lowered his head. Sorry, Professor. Snape took a deep breath to suppress the anger in his heart. I don't want to next time. Erwin, you are too reckless. You are a Slytherin, not a Gryffindor. Erwin nodded quickly. No. Don't worry, Professor. Snape snorted. Turn around and leave. Erwin breathed a sigh of relief. It's past. Angry Snape is so scary. Sure enough, when he bullied Harry Potter every day, he wasn't really angry at all. He was angry now. But Erwin also knew that he was indeed a little rash this time. The main reason is that Vulcan Kaido is too tempting. He can't control himself. Chapter 97. But after using it once, Erwin felt that a major issue in his heart had been resolved. At least I'm not that curious anymore. But don't tell me, the purple flame is really cool. Erwin feels that his current spell training is a bit off. Everything is purple. The big melon is purple when chewed, and the fire is also purple. As we all know, in the routine of all novels, those who can play the same attack with different colors are the best. Sure enough, he, Erwin Cavendi, is the protagonist. The real protagonist. A cool batch. Whistling, Erwin strolled back to the Slytherin common room. Now the magic power in Erwin's body can be said to be completely empty. Nothing left. Erwin needs to take a nap and quickly regain his magic power. There seems to be no way to restore magic power in the wizarding world. Take medicine and sleep. Those are the two ways. How about saying that wizards are lagging behind? Can't even meditate. Look at other people's novels. The mage can meditate back to blue. After returning to the Slytherin common room, it was already past 10 o'clock in the evening. The magic power in Erwin's body has only recovered about 1/10. Such empty magic power made Erwin feel very insecure. Enter the password, and the door to the common room opens. Erwin walked in. Beside the fireplace, there were several little wizards sitting. They were gathering together, holding books, discussing and studying with each other. Erwin was very satisfied. Look, this is Slytherin's hope. What a great group of kids. If one day Slytherin can be like Ravenclaw, all academic masters, plus Slytherin's own blood attributes, Erwin feels that the day will come when Slytherin becomes the strongest house. A group of young wizards also saw Erwin coming back. Stand up quickly. Prefect. Erwin nodded. That's right. Just keep this momentum. Slytherin's future will be brilliant because of you. The little wizards felt more motivated after hearing this. I wish I could just stuff the book in my hand into my head. Malfoy came to Erwin. Prefect, Professor Quirrell is here to see you, but you won't be there then. He asked you to go to the office to find him. The expression on Erwin's face stiffened. Quirrell? Mr. Socket, what the F***? How did you catch this guy? Erwin would not think that it was Quirrell who wanted to see him. He could ask Quirrell to come to him, designated by the Socket Master. Malfoy saw Erwin's expression. What's wrong? Prefect? Is there something wrong? Erwin shook his head. It's okay. You can continue studying. I'll go back and clean up. Malfoy nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Erwin came to his dormitory. Sit on a chair. Erwin frowned. What does the Socket guy want when he comes to see him? Erwin kept his distance from this Socket guy. After all, this guy is really not that easy to deal with. Even though he lost at the hands of Dumbledore, the performance in the original work was also a bit awkward. But that was all calculated by Dumbledore and added to the plot. If Voldemort is really worthless, why did Dumbledore plot against Voldemort when he was so powerful? On the one hand, because of the existence of Horcruxes, Dumbledore could not kill Voldemort without solving all the Horcruxes. On the other hand, this is not a fear of the Socket and a recognition of the strength of the Socket, especially after witnessing Dumbledore's strength. Erwin's heart was already full of vigilance towards these old men. The battle between Dumbledore and those men in black robes that day really shocked Erwin. The flames that almost dyed the entire sky red. It's simply outrageous. And how strong was Voldemort, who fought back and forth with Dumbledore at his peak? Erwin shuddered subconsciously. Horrible socket sperm. Erwin's mental communication system. What level is the socket's magic power? Ding. Peak Voldemort. The magic power is from level 6 up to level 7 down. Erwin scratched his head. Do you want to listen to what you were saying between 6 and 7? It's 6.5. Ding. It's okay for the host to say this. Voldemort's magic power at his peak was indeed higher than level 6, but he couldn't reach level 7. Erwin said. Then if the true combat power can be visualized, what level will Voldemort be at? Ding. According to the system data, if all factors are taken into account in terms of actual combat power, Voldemort's combat power should be able to reach level 8. Dumbledore and Peak Grindelwald are also at this level. Erwin frowned. That's not right. Is Voldemort so powerful? Ding. The system only simulates Voldemort's peak state. This state is Voldemort's best age, best strength, and no split Horcrux. Erwin understood. The lovely Mr. Socket, splitting the Horcrux, weakened himself. TSK. I'm afraid he's a fool. Erwin asked. What about me? Ding. Simulate the current age of the host and control the magic. Without considering thermal weapons, the host's combat power is about level 5. Note, what is mentioned here is when the host's firepower is fully activated. Erwin thought for a moment. According to this, Voldemort with only one face left now should not be much stronger than me. Whether you can do your own research, I've told you. What fun do you have? Small openings don't count. If you open too much, it will be boring. Erwin pouted. Stingy system. Sure enough, this system doesn't work very well. The system is no longer able to complain. Isn't this good enough? So what does it mean to be okay? How about I just let you become a god? Erwin considered whether to meet the socket spirit. He didn't know what the socket spirit was looking for, especially now that Dumbledore is gone. Who knows if Voldemort has any evil intentions? But, to be honest, Erwin was really too curious about Voldemort. After thinking for a long time, Erwin decided to go see Voldemort. If you don't even dare to see an extremely weak Voldemort, Erwin, what did he talk about facing those unknown enemies? Erwin snapped his fingers. It was such a happy decision. With apparition around, Erwin's advance and retreat are relatively safe. So the socket essence is not invisible. But you still need to make some preparations. Erwin flipped his wrist. The next moment, killing weapons appeared on the table. Erwin checked the safety on all weapons. Then fill up the magazine again. Finally, Erwin set his sights on the last item on the table. Arrow-propelled grenade, or RPG for short. Erwin picked up the launcher and then loaded the rocket. Get the insurance and make sure it can be launched directly after taking it out. Chapter 98. After doing all this, Erwin felt extremely safe. With these toys and the addition of apparition, Erwin felt that it was much more reliable. After feeling the magic power in my body, 30% of the magic power was restored. It was enough for Erwin to use apparition 4 or 5 times. Erwin thought it was enough. In this case, let's go meet our Mr. Socket. Erwin adjusted his versatile suit. The power of attack spells is reduced by 30% between meetings. This wave, the advantage is mine. Erwin did not directly apparate over. The time on the road can also help Erwin recover some of his magic power. As for why he didn't wait until all his magic power was restored before meeting the socket spirit. It's too late, before we know Voldemort's purpose. Erwin didn't want to appear unusual either. After all, under normal circumstances, when a professor calls a student, the student should come over as soon as possible. Not long after, Erwin came to the door of Professor Quirrell's office. Erwin flipped his wrist, and the wand appeared in Erwin's hand. Then, Erwin used his robe to hide his wand under his sleeve. Then he knocked on the door. Professor Quirrell, I'm Erwin. Soon, the office door opened. Professor Quirrell ran over and opened the door himself. After seeing Erwin, there was unconcealable happiness in Professor Quirrell's eyes. Erwin, you're here. Erwin nodded, but he reacted quickly. Why? Quirrell stopped stuttering. Professor Quirrell? You speak. Professor Quirrell said. I don't know what happened, but I suddenly stopped stuttering. Erwin smiled and said, Congratulations, really, Professor Quirrell. Professor Quirrell nodded. Thank you. Erwin, come in and sit down. Erwin nodded and walked towards the office. Professor Quirrell closed the door. Erwin asked, Professor Quirrell, what do you want from me? Professor Quirrell hesitated and was about to speak. Behind his head, Voldemort suddenly spoke. Okay, let me do it. I think our Mr. Cavendi already knows about my existence. Professor Quirrell nodded. Then he looked at Erwin. Erwin, don't be afraid. There is someone who wants to see you. Don't worry, he means no harm to you. Erwin nodded without any pretense of surprise on his face. You can already hear it from what Voldemort just said. Voldemort saw through him. This is why Erwin doesn't like dealing with such people. His little brain is really not as good as these guys who have lived for so many years. Professor Quirrell took off the scarf wrapped around his head, then turned around. A face that looked a little disgusting slowly emerged. Erwin couldn't help but frown. Voldemort said, "Isn't it ugly?" "Alas, I don't want to either." Erwin said, "To be honest, it's a little offensive, but it's really ugly." Voldemort smiled and said, "You are honest. I am very curious. How do you know my existence?" Erwin tightened his grip on the wand. "Everyone has their own secrets, don't they?" Voldemort said, "Yes, it is true. You are very similar to Pearson." Erwin was stunned for a moment. Pearson Cavendi is his grandfather's name. Erwin asked, "Sir, do you know my grandfather?" Voldemort said, "We know each other. In other words, we are very familiar. I also started the prefect challenge back then. At that time, the hidden prefect of the 4th grade was your grandfather, and I also lost to him. That is mine the first failure. I can't forget now the terrible spell your grandfather was so skilled at." Erwin heard this. "I am even more vigilant in my heart. Damn it, isn't the socket planning to take revenge on another generation? That's really a bit disrespectful of martial ethics." Voldemort said, "Don't be nervous. If you use more force, the wand under your robe may be broken by you." Erwin was shocked. Is this guy a clairvoyant? Is that so? Don't be surprised. As you said, everyone has their own secrets. Of course I do too. I have no ill intentions towards you. After hearing this, Erwin did not let down his guard. On the contrary, he became more vigilant. As we all know, there are rules in this world. When a person says he has no ill intentions towards you, this person often has the greatest ill will. Just like in the past life on the internet, many people taught others to make money, but in fact, they just want to make your money, which is the same truth. Erwin asked, "Well, sir, what do you want to see me for today?" Voldemort said, "It's nothing, just after meeting an old friend. Your grandfather and I actually had a very good relationship at the time. It's a pity that he later left the wizarding world, which is really regrettable. Your grandfather is really a genius. It's a pity that later he left the magic world. Otherwise, he would have been a big shot in the magic world." Erwin nodded slightly. "Thank you for your praise, sir. If my grandpa hears it, he will definitely be very happy." Erwin didn't know what Voldemort's purpose was. But since this guy wants to make a fuss here, then Erwin can argue with him. Erwin wasn't sleepy anyway, so who couldn't chat? If you like to chat, then chat. Voldemort was not in a hurry, and he was even less anxious. In Voldemort's current state, how much power does he have to talk about here? Sooner or later, you will have to explain your purpose. Voldemort sighed. "Erwin, you are in danger now. Pearson is my best friend, and I want to protect you. But you also saw it. I can't do it, so you have to be more careful in the future." Erwin was stunned. "Voldemort? Are you concerned about him?" Something is wrong. 12 out of 10 things are wrong. How could Voldemort, who had been separated from a Horcrux, care about others? His brain is not normal. Erwin thought for a while, and felt that he should follow Voldemort's ideas. "That's really a pity. Sir, you know, I have always admired you. However, I think Hogwarts should be safe for the time being." Voldemort said, "No, Erwin, you don't understand. You don't know how terrifying the enemy you have to face is. Hogwarts can't protect you for long." Erwin's face was full of panic. "Then what should I do?" "Sir, I don't want to die yet." Voldemort said, "My child, you need to become stronger now." Erwin said, "But I don't know how to become stronger, you know. I have worked very hard." Voldemort shook his head. "This is not enough. If you want to deal with them, you need to learn more powerful spells. What you are taught in school is not enough." Erwin realized clearly that he seemed to know the idea of the socket. This socket seems to be trying to win over him. Chapter 99. Erwin said, "Then, sir, what should I do?" Voldemort sneered inwardly. "Sure enough, I still took the bait." Voldemort thought for a moment. "You need to find a more powerful wizard to learn from." Erwin nodded. "You are right. Do you mean to ask me to find Professor Dumbledore? Voldemort was stunned for a moment. No, that's not how the script was written. Shouldn't I seek his apprenticeship? Then he can rely on this relationship and Erwin's desire for power to control Erwin. Why did he just go to Dumbledore's apprenticeship? Is that what he meant? Are all the little wizards today so poor in understanding? But having said all that, Voldemort certainly wouldn't let Dumbledore pick the peach. Voldemort said, although it is a good choice. But Erwin, you have to know. Dumbledore has a good impression of Gryffindor. But even if he doesn't admit it, he does have a prejudice against Slytherin. So, I don't think you'll learn any good spells if you go to Dumbledore. Erwin said with some distress. Then what should I do? By the way, I can also find Professor Snape. Professor Snape is very powerful, or Professor McGonagall, who is also very powerful. Flitwick, the same goes for professors. I can go to them for advice. Voldemort was numb. What's going on? Such a good teacher is right in front of you. Are you blind? Voldemort's soul power was already somewhat weak. He was too lazy to continue arguing with Erwin. If you are willing, I can teach you. I think I am higher than their level. You need some powerful magic now, and I can help you with this. Erwin pretended to be surprised. Is it really possible? But your current condition doesn't seem to be very good. Voldemort said, it doesn't matter. For the descendants of my best friend, I think I can persist. This can be regarded as the last thing I do for my best friend. Erwin said, thank you so much for your generosity, sir. Voldemort said, you should call me teacher now. Erwin nodded. Yes, teacher. Voldemort said, it's getting late. You can go back and rest. Come over tomorrow night and I will teach you some real skills. Erwin stood up and bowed slightly. Thank you, teacher. Teacher, please have a good rest. I will be here on time tomorrow night. Voldemort's face gradually faded away. Professor Quirrell turned his head and wrapped the scarf around his head again. There was some hesitation on his face. Want to say something? Erwin raised his finger to his mouth. Professor Quirrell's pupils contracted slightly. Erwin said, Professor Quirrell, I will go back and rest first. Quirrell nodded. Okay. Erwin, go back. I'll wait for you in the office tomorrow. Erwin nodded. Then he turned and left Quirrell's office. Go a long way. Erwin was relieved. Putting the wand away. It's interesting that Voldemort actually wanted to take him as his disciple. Of course, Erwin would not think that Voldemort really wanted to teach him. The so-called best friends are all nonsense. Voldemort's ultimate goal was to use him. The reason why Erwin agreed was simply because Voldemort wanted to use him. Why didn't he want to use Voldemort? Apart from anything else, Voldemort's knowledge and level were there. There are only a few wizards who can be called legendary. Voldemort is among them. With such a good personal trainer, Erwin would certainly not give up. As for what Voldemort wanted to use him for, then we don't know who is taking advantage of whom. Erwin is familiar with the plot, and many plots are laid out in advance. If he couldn't defeat Voldemort, he would be really embarrassed. Erwin's biggest advantage over them is that he knows all the plot developments. And on top of the plot development, do some small tricks. Erwin felt that this was not difficult. Getting more benefits from Voldemort is the way to maximize profits. Don't tell me, Voldemort's apprentice. I'm a little excited just thinking about this status. The next day, it was already past 9 o'clock when Erwin woke up. Washed up a bit, Erwin thought for a while and decided to go to Diagon Alley. It is also time to start some layout of the magical world. Erwin directly apparat appears at the door of the leaky cauldron. Erwin felt the magic in his body. Good guy. This is too far. The magic power in Erwin's body is not enough. A backup magic source was also used. But this is also thanks to the rewards given by the system. If it were any other wizard, unless it was Dumbledore. Otherwise, it would be impossible for a phantom to come over. If I remember correctly, there is a disappearing cabinet in the room of requirement that is connected to the Borgenbach store. That thing is quite convenient. You should do some research when you get back. If the research is clear, it will be more convenient for Erwin to come to Diagon Alley. Although you have to go through Knockturn Alley. But for other wizards, Knockturn Alley was very dangerous. But Erwin had nothing to fear from flying upside down. Erwin pushed open the door and entered the leaky cauldron. Tom was dozing off at the counter. There were very few people in the bar. The wind chime at the door woke old Tom. Tom glanced up. A flash of silver caught the eye. Huh, little wizard? I remember you, Erwin. Erwin Cavendi, right? Erwin nodded. Yes. Hello, I haven't seen you for a while. Tom said. Shouldn't you be going to school at Hogwarts? How did you end up at the leaky cauldron? Erwin said. I want to go to Diagon Alley. Tom didn't ask any more questions. and he didn't even think that Erwin left the academy on his own. Just think of it as asking for leave from the school professor. After all, a young wizard left Hogwarts and came to Diagon Alley on his own. He had never encountered such an outrageous thing in the leaky cauldron for so many years. Tom said, "Then go there by yourself." Erwin nodded. "Come to the brick wall." Erwin tapped his wand, and the entrance to Diagon Alley opened. Erwin walked right in, walking towards his own shop. Erwin's luck was good when he chose the store. There happened to be a store with a good location for rent. On the left is Ollivander's wand shop, on the right is the bookstore, and opposite is the dessert shop. It can be said that the flow of people in this store is extremely huge. After arriving at the store, Old Tom is placing various herbs and magical animal materials on the shelves. Wind chimes are ringing. Old Tom did not look back. "Guest, just choose what you want." "Tom," Erwin spoke. Old Tom's body trembled violently, turning around and looking over. "Master?" Chapter 100. Erwin smiled. "It's been a while." Old Tom nodded. "Yes, Master." "Master, why are you here suddenly?" Erwin said. "Come and take a look. Prepare some things by the way. Some plans can also be started." Old Tom's eyes lit up. "Is it the plan about the communications company that you mentioned, Master?" Erwin nodded. Yes. How are you paying attention to the things I asked you to pay attention to?" Old Tom said, "As the young master thought, just some time ago, the mobile phone company you asked me to pay attention to launched a flip phone. The price is quite high, but it is still very convenient." Erwin raised the corners of his mouth. "That's right. Do you have it in your hand?" Old Tom nodded and took out a mobile phone he had prepared in advance. Erwin took it. "It's so ugly, but as the first mobile phone in the history of mobile phones to reduce its weight to this extent, this is almost a milestone product." Erwin said, "I'll take this mobile phone with me, and I'll do some research, do some experiments, and when I finish the research, we can also have a monopoly industry." Old Tom hesitated and said, "Isn't it a little premature, young master? Now that we have intervened in the magic material business, some pure-blood families are already dissatisfied. If we really have a monopoly industry, those pure-blood families won't be against us." Erwin was surprised. "Has it attracted the attention of the pure-blood family? Which family knows about it?" Old Tom said, "It's Yaxley." The corner of Erwin's mouth rose. "It is indeed them. It seems that my luck is still as good as ever." Old Tom wondered, "Master, what should we do? Should we bring our people over?" Erwin shook his head. "Don't worry, it's not time yet. When Yaxley comes for trouble again, let them do it. But let more people know. Yaxley is targeting us. And we are just poor first-year Hogwarts wizards who have some money to open a shop and want to make some money. We are just unlucky ones, poor devils. We are a vulnerable group." Old Tom nodded. "I understand, young master." A cold light flashed in Erwin's eyes. "No matter which world or era we are in, the weaker party will always make people feel bad, right? The rabbit will bite when it is anxious, and by the time the rabbit bites, it has already occupied the commanding heights. Because it is the weaker party, ah." Old Tom said, "Okay, young master, I will arrange it." Erwin leaned back on his chair. "Did something happen with the family?" Old Tom shook his head. "No, it's the same as before." Erwin nodded. "That's okay. Stretch out your arms." Without any hesitation, Old Tom directly handed his arm to Erwin. Erwin's wand touched the purple lotus mark on Old Tom's arm. Subsequently, activate the magic power and create the sound transmission spell. After a while, Erwin removed his wand. "Okay, from now on, you can contact me directly through the purple lotus mark, and you can talk to me directly. It is more convenient for me to come to Diagon Alley now. If there is any problem, just call me and I will rush over. You have no magic power, so I have made some changes for you. Press your finger on the top of the purple lotus mark to contact me directly." Old Tom curiously looked at the purple lotus mark on his hand that seemed unchanged. Erwin said, "After this semester is over, I will think of a way to see if I can give you magic power." Old Tom was instantly excited. "Can I also have magic power?" After coming to the magic world, Old Tom saw too many magical things. "So I have longed for magic. It's just that without magic power, he has no chance to use magic in this life." But now, Erwin told him that he could have magic and enter the world of magic. Erwin nodded. "Yes, there are some ways, but it should be quite difficult. Let's try it after the holidays." Although Erwin already knew from Snape's mouth, it is said that Grindelwald had a way to let ordinary people obtain magic power. But let's not talk about the issue of authenticity for now. Just saying that his Grindelwald is not that easy to deal with. Trading this thing is generally based on mutual needs, which is the prerequisite for trading. But is Grindelwald missing something? He lacks nothing. Grindelwald is bound to Nurmengard. If he really wanted to, it would be too easy to come out. It was just because of a promise that he was bound to the tower. Therefore, Grindelwald cannot have any needs. If he really wants something, a saint will naturally get it for him. Erwin really couldn't think of any way to make a deal with a character like Grindelwald. However, if there was any hope, Erwin would have to give it a try. What if, right? Moreover, Erwin was very curious about Grindelwald. In other words, a bit of admiration. After all, Grindelwald's concepts and ideals are very advanced. It is precisely because it is too advanced that it is not accepted by those in the magic world. Grindelwald's only mistake was that he was too anxious. If you use the saints slowly penetrate, with Arrancar, who will win in the end is really unknown. As the saying goes, the masses are the foundation. It's a pity that Grindelwald and Voldemort don't know this truth. But Erwin knew this truth. Erwin, who was educated with sickle and hammer in his previous life, knows very well what grassroots means. He really understands it. Therefore, Erwin is destined to take a completely different path from the first two. Erwin stayed in the store for more than an hour. After some calculations, the store's business is fairly manageable. But making money is really not how you can make money. Erwin didn't really care. Although I initially planned to use this shop as a property, but now it seems that he has a better industry to do. Of course, Erwin will not let go of the magic material business either. Only now there is the Yaxley family. There is no way to achieve a monopoly. How to make money without a monopoly? It's not interesting for Erwin to make such small money. However, the day of monopoly is not far away. Erwin has made a lot of preparations for the Yaxley family and is just waiting for the Yaxley family to get in. Erwin now just hopes that the Yaxley family will know better. If you look for more trouble, Erwin will be able to better occupy the moral high ground when he takes action later. It's almost noon. Erwin spoke to old Tom, then go straight back to Hogwarts. Erwin's figure appeared directly in the dormitory. The next moment, a shout came.
Collapse. Thanks for watching. You can find the next videos in the playlist linked in the info card, directly on my channel, or right here on the screen. And as always, if you have any feedback, feel free to share it in the comments too.